And I thought, right, but I'm in 5 Mile Town and I live in Portadown. It's like a 60-mile journey, like, you know.
Get your dad going to pick you up.
But well, that's what ended up happening. That's what ended up happening. My dad ended up coming down and picking me up, like. Yeah. I told him just to hang fire. He had no bad doing it, but it was just, you know, the principle of the thing. Like, you
that's
know,
it, mate. Yeah.
You know, what if you know? Imagine me being stranded out in the A4 in 5 Mile Town, and it was bucketing down with rain.
Been there, mate. Been there. Believe me.
Sucks, man, but sure. Oh well, what do you do?
I know that's it, mate.
I'll be just.
Hi guys.
Good, man. All right.
We all good?
I did on yourself.
Yep. Congratulations on the exam, boys and girls.
Oh, cheers, boy.
Cheers.
Now is a difficult one for fuck's sake. It's Saturday.
No. Listen, nutrition's nowhere near as difficult as you know, MP. MP's just very tricky. The wording.
This nutrition's just not fucking sinking in with me at all. And I thought that'd be handy, but like it's just not sinking at all.
I've never concentrated about anything.
It's just your time frame, buddy. Because you were infatuated because you knew they had that exam up. Anything you were thinking of.
Can you bring it up for me, please?
I don't think I've ever concentrated on anything so much in my life.
Yeah.
On every question, like, you know, should I go on the wording of this is weird.
But tell you what, Kieran, you're right there, mate. I was fucking stressed out. I was actually sitting here shaking, believe it or not.
Hello.
I was sitting sort of going,
Yes, well,
was it that my hand that was shaking?
I can see your monitor shaking, like, you know, like out there. Like, something out of a horror movie.
What's the crack today, man?
That's up.
I drove past you again, by on the way back to Portadown from 5 Mile fucking back.
Are you doing that run this week again?
No, different one, dude. Different. Start off in 5 Mile Town, go into Enniskillen, and then back in again.
Alright.
The joys of being a reserve driver, they'll throw you anywhere. They'll throw you into the Bermuda Triangle if they could.
My fellow Baldy.
Ew, there he is, mate. You handsome devil.
I'm not taking my hat off.
I'll go on.
No, not yet. Tonight is happening. It's happening tonight.
That's what I can hear.
You getting rid of her, are you?
So I'm getting ready to go down to the wood for fuck's sake.
I'm growing mine out.
Nah, Bobby, you're the next one, man. That is one hell of a hairdo, and I want to see it go.
No.
You're right, Bob.
I agree with you.
As handsome as you are, Bobby, you just keep it, son.
Thank you, Paddy.
I think Bobby looked badass with a shaved head.
Shaved head and long beard.
You'd be like Steve Manley.
You.
There's the man himself.
I'm on work, lads, and everybody's coming in going, fuck her, I wouldn't mess with you now.
Have a Steve, man.
What's cracking? I'm about to eat my dinner, so you'll get my video in a little bit.
I was going to say, where are you, man?
He's not connecting there.
How's you, PJ?
All good. I missed you last week. Fuck me, I had a great week. Well, I had a great week and a shit week.
A great week because you missed us.
Well, I had a great week. The Zoom clients, the ones you had one-on-one, they'd sort of cancelled or rescheduled, and then you guys, I thought I had you, but they didn't. So Easter week was a good week. Not that I got much shit done, but sure. So all good. Yeah, just looking forward to getting through this stuff. But I'm glad it's all passed, unless somebody didn't. Did they?
No, we all passed.
No, we all passed.
Everybody got through, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Take it all to passed.
Did you see your buying Delta was He said, right, Lenny, let's get this fight between Alpha and Delta going.
I'm Marty.
Marty, fucking crazy bastard anyway.
Eating the dog food.
That's even
It's
sick.
not that bad.
Category chunks, but
Look alright. Look really cute.
Not bad.
You'd eat it if you were hungry, wouldn't you?
he almost said it as if it was a delicacy in his hometown.
Hold on a fucking second.
He was definitely on the beer, I think.
You what?
He was
I thought
definitely
it was
on
my
the beer.
hometown. Oh, he was juiced. He looked like he was juiced.
I know I need to be on the beer today.
Right.
Owen, how's the head feel?
You need to watch the time. Mine.
So let's get started. I'm sure this has been the last thing that's been on your mind, obviously, because of AMP. Hopefully everybody's looked back, they've seen the notes, they know where the questions possibly are because I've pointed them out. And what we have to cover tonight: fats, vitamins, minerals, hydration. Hopefully we'll get this done by the end of the night, and then any questions, just hit me up. I'll have a couple of quizzes which I'll send you out. We'll get this to fill in. Very, very, like, if you go and research them, you'll do well.
Sorry, Paddy, are you going to give a summary kind of at the end, or?
Yeah, I'll give you stuff that you just need to cover as well.
Yeah.
Pretty much on the 2 quizzes is in a roundabout way the questions are going to be on the exam.
Everything.
The exam's still Saturday, isn't it, Paddy? Yeah.
I'll let Lenny decide that if it still is.
Was it?
I actually said to him we've probably got about 3 weeks left, but that includes the fat loss and then the nutrition presentation to be done.
Oh, right. Okay.
This
Do I?
okay. And again, if there is any questions, anything just pops up, again, just give me a shout. But we'll get started here. So, fats, we've covered the overview. So for Steve, there is 3 videos. There's an overview, there's carbohydrates, there's protein and protein supplementation, and tonight we're obviously going to cover fats, vitamins and minerals, hydration and stuff as well, and more supplements as well near the end. Fats and vitamins and minerals are the ones where the people are still a little bit unsure of, and where some of the dodgy questions come as well, but we'll go through them as we go. So fats, classified as a couple of different things: lipids, triglycerides, adipose tissue. Within the body, it depends on the circumstance. So if they're stored as fat, if fat is stored in fat cells, it's known as adipose tissue. If it's triglycerides or lipids, it's pretty much in the bloodstream and stuff as well. Okay. The most concentrated form of energy we have in the body, obviously, being 9 calories. There's probably going to be a stupid question on there about that as well. And you can see the reason why probably the people who are in physique or bodybuilding will tend to gravitate more towards protein and carbohydrates than they will fats. One of the main reasons, again, as we're saying there, is that they are less than half the amount of calories the fats are. Okay, so it's very, very easily overeat on fats. Fats do not make you fat. Overeating makes you fat. I think we've established that, from the last couple of weeks. So fats do have a great relationship in terms of hormone production, in terms of cell health, in terms of, producing some of the hormones that we have. Insulation for the body, we'll go through it all here in a sec. Okay, so healthy fat intake around about 20 to 35% is probably the best for most people. You'll tend to find if someone goes sort of keto or a high fat style diet, they might start to get the runs. That's usually a sign that there's a lot of saturated fat in the diet. Not that that's bad, but you might want to just back off a little bit from that. Okay. Most bodybuilders will still stay around about 20%. The only time that they will bring that down is if they're in the last couple of weeks of prep and stuff as well, and they're still trying to cut calories. But yeah, they're needed for optimal health and performance as well. Do you think all fats are bad?
Oh.
No.
No.
Why?
No.
Because we need them.
Do we need them because someone told you, or do we just need them because of a
It's-
specific reason?
They're a form of energy.
Fat is an enormous form of energy, another energy source, isn't it?
Once your carbohydrate stores run out, it starts to run on fat. So
Yep, 100%.
Healthy
Like
can work for brain function as well, doesn't it? Or contribute to brain function as well.
100%. Yeah, like I read something from Alan Argon, who runs the Alan Argon Review. Very, very smart nutrition guy, and he had something on which was cool, which was, you know, people always say the only non-essential macronutrient that you need for life, right, is carbs, right? You could survive this life without eating carbs. So proteins and fats are the two essential macronutrients that you need for survival. But he actually wrote something. He went, you know what? Surviving and optimal are two different things. So you can hang your hat and say, you fucking don't need carbs. You don't. But here, are they great for performance, recovery, fueling your body? Fuck yeah. You know what I mean? They have great benefits. So don't ever discount things and think that, you know, one thing is more important than the other. Because, like I said, survival and performance or optimal performance are two completely different things, and it's a lot of stuff that we're striving for. Again, I was watching a video earlier where the research that was created in terms of the Eat Well plate, which promoted a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet. This was at a Swiss symposium. This guy was talking about it. If I can find it again, I'll share it in with you. And he basically said that at the time, Richard Nixon was president, and he says that, you know, I want to give good quality, you know, medical care to people. So what is the best way to stop them from getting sick? Right now, this is in the 60s. What do you think was the big debate going on then in the 60s?
stop giving them fat.
Yeah, fat clogs your arteries. Saturated fat causes heart disease, right? So heart disease and heart attacks were the biggest, you know, killers at that time. And so they attribute all the blame to fat. And the guy goes on to explain that the only research done on that actual topic was one study. It was one study by 3 Harvard scientists, and then it was found out years later because they went, listen, carbs are good for you, like, you know, sugar's good, and they found out years later that they were actually paid off by a sugar company to give that information, which we've probably seen a lot of over the years. I remember, I think it was the UK guy who was the head of health, but he'd done a lot of studies and he was sponsored, or he got his funding from Mars in terms of the bar. So a lot of the time there can be inconclusive evidence and stuff as well. So just based on that, I think we're past it now, but probably about 5-10 years ago, definitely we were still having this debate. This fats were bad. Like, no one was having them. It was still based on that research that was done in the 60s. And the more as time was going on, we realized that saturated fat is not necessarily bad. There is certain saturated fats or trans fats that, you know, are bad for you, but they're not necessarily going to clog your arteries. Overconsumption, being overweight, a combination of these processes are what's going to cause that, and we'll get into that as well. And there was a documentary on the BBC before, and it was this girl who had she was an English Indian doctor. She was from Indian descent, but she was English, and she was carrying a bit of weight. And I remember watching this clear as day, and she was talking to, this girl who said there's some research that says that having a high fat diet or having good quality saturated fats in your diet can actually help you lose weight. And I was like, amazing. This is something we promoted for ages, in the health and fitness industry of, fats are good, having coconut oil isn't bad, stuff like this. And her response actually amazed me. She turned around after and she went, you know what, there is some promising research in this for helping people, but I'm not prepared to, change my opinion. So I'm just going to keep telling my patients to do, X, Y, and Z. Now, at the time, I was like, what are you doing, love? Like, you're overweight. Why not try it? Why not give it a go? See what happens. And there was a podcast I listened to that really made me think. And basically, from when information is, studies are put out, it's peer reviewed, there's a meta-analysis, all the research in that field is brought together and there's a decision made. And then it's filtered down to GPs. You know how long that takes? 19 years on average.
Was close to 6 months, I think.
So 19 years from research being published to say that, you know what, fuck me, saturated fat isn't that bad for you. Peer-reviewed, meta-analysis, yep, there's tons of findings that say that it is not necessarily bad, to that getting down into your GP, on average 19 years. So this is why we were still having those debates. Sorry if that seemed long-winded. This is why we were having these debates consistently, even though we know that these things are not necessarily bad for us. Overconsumption is always going to be the main component of it. But, sometimes it's remarkable. I speak to people who are involved in the NHS, and sometimes I'm just banging my head against the wall because it's just like, they're telling you don't eat more than 2 eggs a week because you'll have high blood pressure or high cholesterol.
What, sorry?
High cholesterol. And it's like,
Sorry, PJ, did you say, what did it say?
the recommended sort of guidelines from the NHS is like, don't be eating any more than like 2 eggs a week if you suffer from high cholesterol. It can cause high cholesterol. They're like, are you serious? And I used to get really angry and upset about this, but this comes down to their education. This comes down to what they've been taught by the NHS, and it's the same way I had debates with doctors. I used to get angry because doctors didn't do a lot of nutrition. I spoke to, a lot of doctors, they didn't do a lot on nutrition. They told me this. And they're very close-minded. And their approach was, I've went to medical school, I've invested, thousands upon thousands, and this is what I've been told to tell people without actually thinking sometimes outside the box of what could potentially help that person. Just like, oh, no, eat your healthy grains and, your eat well plate. That's the best thing for you before you go. Sorry, just to be a bit long-winded there, just because there's a lot of debate and there's a lot of shit around fats. So some of the functions that we have, providing insulation, that's probably my excuse here around.
So me too, Peter.
Concussion against or cushion against concussive forces. So you always hear the debate of, some of these heavyweight boxers or MMA players who are carrying weight that don't look like Anthony Joshua, but usually that extra cushion, not just
Butterbean.
can help absorb forces and stuff as well. Okay. Dietary fats release a hormone called CCK. It's a big long-winded name. You can Google that. A hormone that signals satiety. Okay, so this signal is released whenever fat is eaten in the body. The signal sent down, CCK is released. There is going to be a question about CCK. Okay, the fact that it signals satiety. So make a note there. So
Well, that'll just be what it is and stuff. Sorry, PJ.
Yeah, I'll get it up here. So it's a big, long-winded name. So it's a hormone that's released whenever you start to eat fat. So it's a way for your body to say, okay, there's fat coming into the body. We need to break this down. There's a whole host of other hormones like PYY. I don't know if you can you see my screen, or is it still the
Still a function of fats.
2 seconds?
Actually.
Just so I can get this up so we can explain it better. So you can see here, cholecystokinin, or whatever way you want to pronounce that, peptide hormone of the gastrointestinal system responsible for stimulating the digestion of fat and protein. So what happened is that signal is released, as you can see here. Move this out of the way. And it's pretty much telling the body that, listen, you know, we've got fat, we've got protein, we're coming down, we need to be able to digest this. And then obviously it's prepping the liver to break down those amino acids, the pancreas to release bile, salts and stuff as well to help break down the fats. So it's just basically a hormone that's released whenever you get that in there. It's a question on the exam, but there's not a huge amount on it. If you were to go on and you want to learn a little bit more about this, Precision Nutrition, they do a nutrition cert, and they go a lot into the hormones of like PYY and everything else that's released. If I can tell you from a standpoint, I'd rather you get practical, hands-on, you know, stuff that you can give clients, because this is the sort of stuff that, okay, it's great to learn for yourself, but it's not really going to make a crossover in terms of your, you know, coaching business. It's great if you're going to go on to further learning and you want to maybe potentially do a degree in nutrition or dietetics, but like I always say, Precision Nutrition is a phenomenal course, very scientific, very in-depth. I'm glad when I did mine, it was, you know, 2 or 3 courses after learning a lot more about nutrition and a little bit more hands-on stuff that I could give clients straight away.
We'll just take a moment to appreciate that I thought that Paddy was going to jump up and knock somebody's bollocks in there for beeping the horn outside his door.
I thought the same, actually.
I got what's going on. You didn't see my hands. You didn't see my hands gestures.
Paddy, you're my hero.
Okay, so fats also slow the digestion of food. Obviously assisting in blood sugar stabilization, reducing blood sugar fluctuations can contribute to satiety. So remember when we spoke about, you know, the first macronutrient to be broke down within the body is carbohydrates. The second thing to be broken down within the body is fats, and the last thing to be broken down is protein. Because if you think about it, carbs is our primary energy source, fats are still another energy source, protein more of an amino acid repair. Now, if we were to pair protein with fats or carbs with fats, the actual rate at which they would be digested and broken down is obviously a little bit slower. Okay, so it's not as, you know, you have carbs, you get a blood sugar spike and you crash, you get fat. If you pair both those together, that blood sugar spike from the carbs starts to become a little bit easier. And we now have a steady stream of nutrients getting into the bloodstream rather than, you know, relying on, you know, spike, crash, pick-me-ups and stuff as well. Fat does give our food flavor. If anybody has ever had anything that is fat-free that does not have any sweeteners in it, it does taste like shit. If any of you remember, we talked about, you know, goat yogurt. That's probably what it tastes like. Fat also carries essential nutrients, so you basically need fat in your diet to get your A, D, E, and K. So remember that. You'll be asked a question on fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins. So A, D, E, and K. You obviously need fat-soluble or fat in the diet to be able to absorb those. And the different types of fats. Now, these will be broken down further into mono, poly, trans, and obviously saturated fats. But in terms of unsaturated fats, which is usually your poly and your mono, good fats can be found in nuts, avocados, vegetables. You see here the molecular structure of the unsaturated fats. Space available for hydrogen atoms to bond. You have saturated fats, or mostly animal products. And then you have trans fats, which is pretty much all the nice stuff that we like to have, which is pretty much bad for you, that has a big long shelf life. Okay, so these trans fats are found to elevate bad cholesterol and should be avoided. I would say kept to a minimum. I don't think having a bit of trans fats in your diet is going to kill you unless you're extremely overweight and your diet has been like that for a long time. So broken down again are unsaturated, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, foods high in monounsaturated canola oil, olive oil, olives, margarine, spreads, some of them, avocado, and then most nuts, not all nuts, almonds, peanuts, cashews, hazelnuts, and egg yolk. I think there's a question on give an example of a monounsaturated fat. Also, which one of these is a polyunsaturated fat as well? So our polyunsaturated: sunflower, soybean, corn, cottonseed, margarines, linseed, walnuts, Brazil nuts, pecans, pine nuts, wheat germ, oily fish, and fish oils. Okay, so your omega-3s. Our bad fats: saturated fatty meats, chicken skin, butter, cream, ice cream, fat milk, cheese, lard, coconut oil, palm oil, chocolate, deep fried foods, takeaway and fast food, and then trans fats, biscuits, cakes, pastries, donuts. Okay, so the classification there is that obviously all saturated fats are bad. Is this true? And should some of them be, or
Well, sure, look at coconut oil. We were talking about a couple of years ago, coconut oil was a big hit.
Yeah.
So it was, of good fats as such, as it was known there, and then it was transpired, it was marked as a saturated fat or so.
So why was coconut oil so good?
It was just a better alternative
To what?
to like your normal
Vegetable oil, or whatever it is.
what do we put in the
Yeah, a lot of the time, the reason why it was better was because it wasn't as manufactured as your vegetable, your canolas, your rapeseed oil, stuff like that. It came from, it came from a coconut. So essentially, it was almost like a single ingredient type food. So because it was like not denatured and processed to a degree, and then the fact that it was an MCT. Has anyone ever heard of bulletproof coffee?
What coffee, sorry?
Bulletproof coffee.
Bulletproof.
No.
I think
From Dave Asprey. So it's basically a coffee that came from this guy who more or less made it sound like it was the fucking lifeblood and savior of the world. And what it was MCT oil. So MCT oil, another form of MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides, we'll talk about that in a second, is coconut oil. So it was coconut oil, it was butter, which is a short chain oil, and it was coffee blended up. And the proponents of it being healthier for you, people who were doing keto, found it easy to do. People were saying that they had amazing energy while taking this coffee. And a lot of the time, which we'll go on to say, is because of how quickly that sort of MCT and SCTs were sort of, quickly into the bloodstream and giving people a usable energy source. But yeah, as we were saying there, coconut oil is actually, it's not that bad. It's like anything. If you have too much of any macronutrient or too much of one thing, can there be an imbalance in your diet? Yeah, possibly. But the attributed to one thing is quite difficult. What else on there should not be on bad fats?
There's a bit of a debate going about it at the minute. I haven't done a lot of research into it, but there's a bit of a debate about full fat milk doing the rounds on a few different sort of places at the moment.
But
Somebody saying that full fat milk can actually help encourage weight loss in certain scenarios. I've read it in passing and need to come back to it just because I actually just forgot about it until I seen it on the list there. But that's one sort of conversation I've seen doing the rounds lately.
yeah, why do you think that is?
It hasn't had the good stuff taken out.
Whole food.
Yeah, you'd imagine like there would be some sort of nutrient density in it. It might be higher in calcium or something along those lines. But again, I've not. I just went, oh, that's interesting, and then forgot to read the fucking rest of it, to be honest. So
it was always something that was proposed, to help build a lot of muscle tissue. Like we spoke about proteins a couple of weeks ago. Milk is 80% casein, 20% whey, and then it obviously has a high fat content, right? So the reason why it was so good for bulking was the fact that it not only did it have protein, it also had, a good chunk of calories and stuff in there. One of the other major components of milk, right, which makes up the majority of it, is actually water. So it can be used, even though if you remember Anchorman, I'm sure we've all been there where somebody's drinking milk and you actually feel like your mouth's getting dry. Milk was a bad choice on a warm day. It is still primarily water. And I can't remember if you were here, Steve, when we were talking about this before. The Dale Farm do like a seminar every year, and they'd always bring over like a nutritionist in a sport or discipline, an athlete, and then they bring a sports scientist. And it was all to promote the benefits of, milk for, stimulating muscle protein synthesis, for recovery, for weight loss, for all these sort of different components. So, yeah, full fat milk, the difference, it just has more calories. And the thing that always gets me is if you look at fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, if you're, trying to supplement with them or you're trying to eat them foods and you're deficient in them, but yet you're having skimmed milk, you're having, stuff that's actually not having fat or cholesterol in your diet, it sort of becomes counterproductive in terms of absorption of those sort of vitamins. So, yeah, full fat milk, no biggie. Tastes fucking better as well.
Yeah, far better in a cuppa.
Yeah,
See the way you were saying that water is predominantly the main ingredient in milk? Is that why when you see the likes of skim milk, all the sort of the good nutrients have been taken out, it's basically just white water?
Can be. I wouldn't say all the good nutrients are taken out.
Most of them.
It's just, it's strained to a degree. You have some people who are lactose intolerant. The whey is actually milky. Remember, like we were talking about this when we were talking about protein. We were talking about, your Phage yogurt or your Fage yogurt and this white, like liquidy substance on top of your actual yogurt is the actual whey protein. So yeah, it's predominantly water based, and then it's obviously made up with that casein and whey and lactose and stuff as well. So sugars in it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it could be. I wouldn't know for sure, but I wouldn't be far off. Like if you look at something like coconut milk, it's like fucking white water.
Yeah.
Or milky water. Anything else on there?
I would
say cheese because it's got a good protein, a good percentage of protein in it as well. Like
yeah.
What's bloody meat? Oh, sorry.
Maybe dark chocolate. Dark chocolate seems to be popular in a lot of things as well.
Yeah, it doesn't really give you that much contact with chocolate. Milk chocolate or dark chocolate. Fatty meats, Rory, you're talking about your red meats pretty much.
I like bacon and all that.
Yeah, and then steaks and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say fatty meats, chicken skin, just skin, butter, cream, full fat milk, cheese, lard, coconut oil, palm oil. Like they're all good. Like if you think about it, I don't know how old some people are here, but like people cooked in lard years ago. You know what I mean? Like at least you knew what was actually in it. It was animal fat, right? You knew what lard was, whereas people think that because they're eating their flora fucking plant steroids and oh my god, like it's manufactured to the fucking degree as well. You know, and a lot of the time they are maybe just manufactured to have less calories in it, but primarily a lot of them foods are, you know, single ingredient, apart from obviously deep fried foods, takeaway. Palm oil we can get from trees. It's obviously something that a lot of people have been campaigning about because the Amazon rainforest has been chopped down and the orangutans have been getting sort of killed in smaller sort of grounds. Ice cream, depending on what way it's made, it's usually fucking processed to the hell and full of sugar and stuff as well. Trans fats, biscuits, cakes, pastries, donuts, anything that is hydrogenated that improves the shelf life, obviously is not going to be in large quantities the best for you, let's just say. Omega-3s, so this is something that there is a massive usual imbalance of ratio between omega-3 and omega-6. So omega-6 always gets a bad rap as the inflammatory, pro-inflammatory, you know, omega. There is some good, healthy omega-6s. Obviously, there is some bad omega-6s. And then, obviously, the content of these omega-3s that we're getting in our diet will usually attain if there's a ratio or anything there. There will be a question on what the optimal ratio is between omega-3s and omega-6. It's 1 and 1. Right? We would like to have the same amount of omega-3s as we would omega-6s, and it'd be the same as this. Like people go, what's the perfect ratio? How much monounsaturated fat should you have? How many poly? How much saturated? How much trans? If you were looking at it, and if you were cutting out trans fats and you're eating super clean, basically a third of everything. Like if you're eating 30 grams of fats, 10 grams of monounsaturated, 10 of poly, 10 of saturated, you know, you're getting a good balance. If you had fucking 15, 10 and a 5, don't be losing your shit. Don't be fucking panicking. This is where a lot of people get into the nitty gritty without actually nailing down the basics. We know adherence, calories, macronutrients, you know, that sort of stuff. So omega-3s, 1 and 1 is going to be the ratio. A lot of people can be 5 to 1, 10 to 1, 15 to 1 in terms of omega-6 to omega-1. Anytime that I work with anybody, especially who has highly processed diet, highly stressed, maybe potential injuries, or has chronic conditions, sometimes even really just acute conditions, I always recommend a super high dose of omega-3s. Okay, my usual recommended daily intake for people, especially for the first month, is 3 to 5 grams daily. Okay. Nice.
We saying about omega-3s, by the way, Paddy. My other half was coming off antidepressants last December, I think it was, or last September. And one thing that staved off the withdrawal effects was taking omega-3 supplements first thing in the morning.
Very good.
I think it helps bridge your neural pathways and stuff like that. So it stops you getting that sort of. It was actually the medication she was on. It was likened to coming off like an opiate. That was the kind of possible withdrawal effect. And the only thing that literally took that away was taking omega-3, like 3 omega-3s first thing in the morning.
Brilliant. Where did you get the omega-3 from?
It's just like the capsules that you get from like the Boots or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I think we're making sure that they were high, and was it DHA and I can't remember.
EPA and DHA.
Yeah, DPA and DHA. It was making sure that the ones that were banned were high on both of those. And that had a massive impact on literally how our fucking brain functioned for the rest of the day.
Yeah, like they're essential, like as we were saying, our fats are essential for our cells. In terms of reducing inflammation within our body, for cell health, for cognitive function, for lubricating, you know, those cells and synapses and neurons within the whole body, not just the brain. Like omega-3 is probably up there with the most researched supplement ever. Like between omega-3s, you know, creatine in terms of, you know, the fitness realm up there. And even then for this, for health, is insane. Like everyone should be taking it. And I know a lot of people say, I eat a lot of fish. A lot of the fish we eat now is farmed. So it's not a great quality. Usually higher in mercury, not as much omega-3 content in it. So it is beneficial to supplement with it. Like anything, if you have too much of it in your diet, you know, you can actually cause yourself some damage. Like I said, your shits can get a little bit runnier. It can cause, like if you're on certain medication for blood thinning, it'll naturally blood thin. So there can be some issues with it, but for that first month, you know, I give this to people who have fibromyalgia. I give it to people who, you know, have depression, who struggle with sleep, who have chronic injuries, who have autoimmune conditions. Yeah, Sean, what's happening, bud? So they're really...
I had a bad mistake, mate. It's all right. I was messing about something.
Oh, really? Lower your hand there, bitch. Yeah, I lowered it for you. Go ahead. There you go. Now you all know you can raise your hand without me saying. So yeah, you know, like there's 3 supplements that I recommend to every single person, right? There are 3 what I call my core base supplements, right? And I always go health first, right? Health before performance, before anything else. Build a good foundation of health, it makes everything easier. And it's fish oils, omega-3s, right? Obviously, you're looking at the EPA and the DHA count, the total actual fatty acid count, rather than the actual what it tells you on the label. So for an example, you go to Holland & Barrett, it says 1,000 milligrams a gram. You're not getting 1,000 milligrams of fish oil. You're probably getting about 600 milligrams. You're obviously getting vitamin E, which is an antioxidant, which stops it from going rancid. So I'm sure everyone's had that, you know, fish oil that you get that regurgitating burp. And then you obviously have whatever is encased in it, the gelatin and so forth. So you want that as high as possible. A dose of 3 to 5 grams. It is generally based on weight, but you know, if you look at the back of the bottle, it says take 1 3 times a day. And if you're only getting 600 milligrams of fatty acids with that, or the actual fish oil, you know, you're talking 4 to 6 per day to get that 3 gram dose. And then if we know if they're having any, you know, implications or anything's happening in terms of the bathroom and so forth, and like any supplement, you want to make sure the person is cleared medically by a doctor. We don't recommend stuff unless there is a nutrient deficiency, but it is a very, very, very good supplement. The next thing is vitamin D. So vitamin D in terms of offsetting osteoporosis, production of testosterone, you know, hormone balance. It's just too fucking good. And then the last thing is digestive enzymes. So I always have digestive enzymes in there. The reason why, how I sell it to people, and I don't mean it like as I'm selling the product, to get them to buy the product, is if I'm talking to females, it's like, listen, do you ever get really like bloated, you know, after eating something? They're like, yeah. Okay, this helps you stop like getting the bloat. And they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. Basically all it is natural enzymes that we produce in our body to break down food. So we look at amylase, which breaks down carbohydrates. We look at lipase, which breaks down fats. And we have protease or pepsin, which breaks down protein. And all we're doing is we're supplementing our gut to actually help break those foods down. So if you think about what's going on, I want to be able to make sure that I'm fully digesting my food. Okay. If I'm not, the likelihood of me, if I've got a bad diet, I drink and I do a lot of these things, the likelihood of me having a leaky gut where, you know, partially digested food is getting into my bloodstream, then what will happen is your white blood cells, your immune system kicks in. It's like, okay, this is a foreign invader. I'm going to go and attack this. Because if you think of any autoimmune condition, it is practically your body attacking itself. Right? And a lot of this is stimulated by what you put in your mouth, whether it's allergies, sensitivities, or chronic conditions that developed over the years. So if I can get people digesting their food better, the likelihood of that happening becomes a little bit less. I'm not going to say it cures it by any stretch of imagination. Then the fish oils come in, because we know that the fish oil is going to reduce inflammation. So, you get some people who have IBS or IBD, colitis, Crohn's, stuff like this. Their gut is very inflamed. And if we understand that the gut is the second brain, right? Like a lot of our serotonin, dopamine is all produced from the gut, from the food that we eat that helps process that. Then we need to realize that we need to look after that, because that is the first port of call of anything coming into our body before it's distributed into the bloodstream. So I want to make sure that there's less, inflammation in the gut. I want to make sure there's less inflammation in terms of the joints and muscles and brain. So that, again, if I've got that reduced, I'm digesting food better. Once I've actually done that, then the likelihood of me being able to actually absorb nutrients from my food is way higher. Does that make sense? Because I am less inflamed. I have less processed or, partially digested food getting into the body. My body can deal with that. Okay? And then obviously the vitamin D, because we don't get a lot of sunlight and stuff as well, and everything we spoke about there. So omega-3s, they're like my core, right? My core. And then if we have anybody performance-based, you may be talking about creatine, citrulline, malate, beta-alanine, stuff like that. But they're usually higher up the scale. And I'm not one for usually recommending people spending, 50, 60, 70, 80 quid on supplements, even though I used to do it myself. Okay, so omega-3 fatty acids are very important, bring balance to the hormones, reduce inflammation, regulate our blood sugar, prevent blood clotting, keep our cholesterol, triglycerides in balance, relax our blood vessels, and make our cells healthy and resilient. And then forms of that: flaxseed, navy beans, walnuts, cold pressed olive oil. Cold press is going to be your best olive oil. Do not cook an olive oil. Olive oil has a very, very low burn point. If you throw it into a hot pan, you just denature the product. So rapeseed oil, avocado oil is actually really, really good. Super cheap as well. Kidney beans, pecans, cold water salmon, leafy greens, and winter squash. And then this is obviously what we were talking about in terms of how these are processed in the body. Okay, so we have polyunsaturated fatty acids broken down into omega-3 and omega-6. Right? On the omega-6, which again usually gets the bad rap, crack my back there. Vegetable oils, margarines, nuts, seeds, grains, and conventional meats. Again, you look at that, if you're looking at certain grains, seeds, nuts, they're going to be good qualities of omega-6. Okay, but like anything, if there's a big ratio of imbalance, it's going to cause certain issues. On the omega-3 side, we have salmon, tuna, sardines, mackerel, flaxseed, chia seeds, probably a lot of stuff that most people do not eat. And even if you're eating, like, I have fish twice a week, it's still probably not enough. It really is not enough. Has anybody ever bought this product, ALA, alpha linoleic acid?
No.
Okay, so it's basically a precursor to omega-3s, a postcursor where it's broken down a little bit more. You have linoleic acid. So what's going to happen is if you have both of these in the body, because there's a lot of things that compete for the same pathways. So iron and copper, right? So if you have too much iron in your body, then if you'll not be able to absorb as much copper. There's an imbalance there, and vice versa. So a lot of the times they're all competing for the same pathway, and these two are the exact same. So we've got linoleic acid and alpha linoleic acid, same converting enzymes in the body. They're converted into EPA and DHA for the omega-3s. Okay, and then on the other side we have gamma linoleic acid, arachidonic acid. And then, as it says down here, these eicosanoids is just another way of what's produced from this, are more pro-inflammatory, so they, are potentially bad for you. And then on the obviously other side, anti-inflammatory. It's like anything, you want a mixture of both within the body. So a perfect example, well, I'll wait until we get on to vitamins and minerals. I just want to ask you a question about something, but Yeah, that's basically what's happening in terms of omega-3s and omega-6s, and that question of what the perfect ratio is going to be 1 and 1. Okay, so trans fats, one of the major reasons or major things to stay away from trans fats, and they're structured closer to plastic than actual fat. I'm sure you've all heard that, you know, hydrogenated fats is, you know, and margarines are more like plastic than they are actual real foods. Another reason is the fact they contribute to heart disease, cancer, bone problems, hormonal imbalance, skin and disease in adults, infertility, difficulties in pregnancy, problems with lactation. Steve has no problems there with infertility. Laying there like a boss.
Right. I've got to let the boys breathe. That's
Oh, Jesus.
So, the problem is that most processed foods are full of trans fats to increase their shelf life. The more trans fats a product has, the longer the product lives, the more revenue the big food companies can make. So another thing with that is the actual food enzymes, the natural enzymes in food are not as present in these long-lasting foods as they are in vegetables, fruit, you know, anything that's fresh. Right? So if you think of when you buy some fruit, it's going to rot in a couple of days. If you make your own bread at home, it'll be like a brick after 2 days. You can put through somebody's window. Right? So there's a reason why that happens, and a lot of the time it's the actual natural enzymes in the food breaking it down. So, you know, everyone's seen a banana go brown, everyone's seen an avocado go black. The natural food enzymes in them is actually breaking it. It's breaking the food down itself. And if you think about it, those foods that we eat that have natural food enzymes in them, they assist you in breaking them down in your gut. Okay? So if you're eating a banana and it's a fresh banana in terms of like, you know, it hasn't been frozen or it's, you know, it hasn't been preserved, which you can't do really anyway, but it's going to be easier to digest. The same as, you know, any fresh fruit, vegetables, something like that. Where if you look at something that's going to be sitting on the shelf for a couple of months, bacon is a perfect example. Bacon usually lasts you about a month and a half, and it's usually because it's been cured, it's been salted, it's been smoked, and there's processes within that there that means that it's not really going to denature, you know, for a long time. Trans oils also increase LDL cholesterol and decrease HDL cholesterol. This is obviously associated with coronary heart disease. So HDL cholesterol being our good cholesterol, LDL cholesterol being our bad cholesterol, and the breakdown of it and how it looks. So HDL, our body needs to produce cholesterol, okay? So even if you're not getting it from your diet, so even if we're having this debate of people who have a low-fat diet, who are eating their floral plant steroids, your body will still produce cholesterol, okay? Your body will produce it. You need it for your cells, you need it for your brain. It is super important. As you can see here, build and maintain cell membranes, necessary to manufacture bile. You obviously need it to absorb fat-soluble vitamins A, D, and K. Insulate nerve fibers, aids in productions of adrenal gland hormones, aids in production of sex hormones. And then we look at the other side, the LDL. Can clog arteries, can lead to coronary heart disease, can lead to a heart attack, can lead to a stroke, can ultimately lead to death. Now, I'm going to go one step further. LDL is still bad, right? But the main one that is causing most of this stuff that's on the right-hand side is VLDL. Okay, so if any of you have ever heard of it, it's just basically another form of LDL. It's broken down. If you ever get your cholesterol done, ask for a full breakdown and ask for your VLDL count as well. Okay, most places will try and get away with not doing it. Your doctor will try and get away with doing it, and they'll give you this number. But you could be eating, you know, really good quality foods. Like I was saying there earlier, Owen was asking, you know, eating more eggs is going to increase your LDL, or sorry, your HDL cholesterol. If that brings up your total cholesterol, your doctor's just going to see total cholesterol and go, whoa, hold on here. Like, you know, you're putting yourself at risk, even though you could be walking in there with 6-pack abs shredded to the bone. Probably you shouldn't be in the doctors if you are, but, you know, just letting you know that. So, how does HDL help to lower LDL? Okay, so any answers, any thoughts? How does good cholesterol help to lower bad cholesterol?
Is it because it sort of assists in the absorption of like minerals that it then breaks down LDL?
I wouldn't say it's breaking down. It's very much like a competing pathway as well. And also if you're having more HDL in your diet than you are LDL, you have less inflammation, less, inflammatory sort of stuff going through there, as you say. You're absorbing a lot more vitamins and minerals. It's more antioxidant and very protective. So yeah, it puts you in a better condition. Any other things? Anybody else? Any other thought processes?
I want to say something to do with the adrenal gland, but I've no idea what.
Let me see if I can get something up here for you. Why can't I see?
Is it something to do with the bell, is it?
Well, it's another.
Let me see. Is this not showing? Or how am I not getting this? There we go. You can see here. So experts believe that HDL acts as a scavenger carrying LDL away from the arteries and back to the liver. So it's more antioxidant, it's more protective of those. The LDL is broken down and passed from the body, so obviously it's cleared away and then it's broken down and get rid of. It doesn't completely eliminate. You can't really do that. Only 1/3 to 1/4 of blood cholesterol is carried by HDL. So if you can see here the little thing on the side, triglycerides high plus low HDL is going to help. Okay, so the ratio we're going to go through here in a second. So a lot of it is just being super protective in terms of stopping us from getting unhealthy or getting to this point where we are clogging arteries or heart disease. What's the quickest way of lowering LDL? Probably statins, maybe a better diet. In terms of being quick, your statins is probably going to be your quickest. If anybody who knows or who has suffered a heart attack or angina or stuff like that, the number one medication given to people, especially in the US, is statins. And long term, it actually can hurt you more. Like any other medication, you take it too long, it's going to hurt you. But the quickest way would probably be medication. The next quickest way is obviously improving your lifestyle, diet, exercise, getting moving and stuff as well. Okay. What's next? And then this is a breakdown of blood cholesterol levels. So total cholesterol. So we've got total cholesterol, what is low and what is high. So anything close to 240, we're looking at that being pretty high. And that's going to show up. Your doctor's going to be like, okay, what's going on here? Sean, you getting your wee bed mate there behind you?
You see that there? Oh.
Fluff 5 sheets up.
Exactly.
And then
ready for a workout later.
love it.
Get out.
That's another baby on the way.
No.
Nay.
On the low side, we're looking at a total number of, somewhere close to 140. There is no too low. If you did have a too low, there would be, again, another increased risk. You'll be worrying about what's actually happening within the body if you're not actually producing cholesterol or good. So LDL, which we've obviously attributed to being our bad cholesterol, and another way that it can be recognized is atherogenic. or it's going to be closely related to a term called atherosclerosis. So I can't get words out today. Atherosclerosis. There's going to be a question on your exam about atherosclerosis. So it's going to basically talk about what is that, what does it do. It's pretty much a clogging of the arteries. Okay, so again, if we look back at this, what does the LDL cholesterols do? They can lead to all this sort of stuff. And then that's why it's called atherogenic.
Paddy? Is that in the slides?
If that's on the slides?
Is that on the slides?
No.
VLDL? Okay.
No. It's just what we have here. VLDL is not on there. They'll not ask you about VLDL. They'll just ask you about what's the bad cholesterol and what's happening if someone is suffering from atherosclerosis. So a low LDL count would be 80. A high LDL count would be 170. And then we have our HDL, our good cholesterol, as we've got down here, protective. A low count would be 50. A high count would be 30, because these two are going to be placed over each other. That is categorized into a total number. So if you can see down here, total cholesterol, TC, over HDL, okay? And if that number is greater than 5, then the likelihood of you having some of these conditions or ultimately leading towards some of those conditions is pretty high. Okay, so you're only really going to see that for people who are maybe overweight, obese, that maybe have a chronic condition, maybe diabetes, stuff like that. Okay, but the best way we can obviously reduce that total cholesterol is to make sure that we have a wide varied diet. Okay, we're not just constantly putting in processed foods and stuff as well. So fat supplements for exercise. So we have LCT, long chains, we have medium chains, and we have short chains. Short chain is not on there because there's not a huge amount of them. Long chain is pretty much something like, nuts. If you think about it, nuts are really hard to break down, if even they're not even probably broken down by the body. It takes a long time to digest them and get any sort of nutrients from them. So if we think back to the way we spoke about our saccharides in terms of carbohydrates, those poly and monosaccharides, right, which are 2 or more, 10 or more type saccharides, they take longer to break down because your body has to digest and get through them pretty quickly. So your LCTs are pretty much the same. They're your long chains. They're the ones that you're going to predominantly have in your diet because it takes longer to digest them, which means more balance to those blood sugar levels. MCTs are in the bloodstream a little bit quicker, and a form of MCT would be coconut oil. Okay, so more rapidly absorbed and entered into the system circulation directly through the portal vein, providing a readily available concentrated source of energy. Your SCT, short chain, are even quicker into the bloodstream. Okay, so if we think back to the, what we were talking about earlier, Dave Asprey's Bulletproof Coffee, you're pretty much attaching caffeine, right, which on average will get in the bloodstream anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. You're attaching it to a short chain, which is butter, and an MCT, which is fat. And what will actually happen is the caffeine binds to the fat and it's pulled into the bloodstream quicker, which means, do you get a rapid source of energy, a rapid focus? Yes, you do. You now are just having a coffee on crack, essentially. So you're getting that coffee quicker. You're getting a huge amount of energy because there's a shit ton of calories in fats. So people were talking about, how good this thing was and it's amazing and, it's giving me this life. It took on a life of its own. The guy who proposed it, or is the biggest proponent of it, Dave Asprey, has said it can cure certain conditions. This has all been debunked, obviously. I'll get it up here. But I would recommend you try it. Right? You can do it at home. If you have good quality butter, don't be throwing some Flora into your coffee. Don't be ruining it. Coconut oil, give it a try.
used to try coconut oil and coffee myself, actually.
Yeah,
in the
especially if
mornings.
you were doing your endurance events. Well,
Yeah.
Was it
And
just
it's nice, like
like a
it's
spoonful?
nice.
It's not. I tried it once.
I don't think so, Kat. All it is, it just leaves like a fat layer over the top end of your black. Well, I only drink black coffee, you see.
Yeah.
So it's just like a fat layer, like a clear fat layer over the top of the cup. But I think it tastes nice.
No, it's rotten.
It's rank.
If you have it with butter, it's quite nice. It's quite creamy, but you still have those fat globules on top. Now, it is not going to do anything fucking magical for you. Like, if any is, Jamie Alderton, he did a cracking video on it. He was like, how to have a bulletproof coffee. And he had a coffee and he put fucking, took a scoop of butter, put it in, stirred it round, and then just fucked it in the because there is no magical secret behind it. But if you have somebody who's maybe on a ketogenic diet that's trying to bulk, and you're trying to find ways to keep calories high and give them a usable energy source, then it may be something that you could possibly do. But like I say, I just tell you these things because they're very much mainstream. As you can see here, brewed coffee, grass-fed butter, or coconut oil, and then obviously, does bulletproof coffee help you lose weight when consumed alongside a healthy diet? Fuck me, it's about 800 calories a cup. So, it can get a wee bit fucking crazy. But again, why not? As long as it's still within your calories and your diet, you're all good. Okay, so it has been suggested, and if we look at what Paddy was saying there, that MCT could benefit endurance performance by supplying an extra energy source, exogenous energy source in addition to carbs during exercise and increase plasma-free fatty acids, spurring muscle glycogen. Okay, so the spurring of muscle glycogen can help with endurance type activity, marathon training. So basically, if we look at it, what we were talking about in terms of carbohydrates, way back a couple of weeks ago, if you start the day with fats, your body is primed to use fats as a source of fuel. Okay, now the only time that will stop is if you then obviously start eating carbohydrates. Now, what we want to do is, if you're exercising at an intensity, that fat burning zone that we've all heard about, an intensity that is low enough not to use up tons of glycogen and use fat as a source of fuel, then that's obviously going to be better for endurance-based events. The oxidization is probably about 50-50. Some people maybe 60-40 of carbohydrates to fats. In terms of what we're talking about is, if I go for a slow run, right? If I go for a slow run fasted, not that there's any benefit to fasted or unfasted, but if I go for a slow run and I release fat to be burned as fuel, yeah? Is everyone still with me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I release that free fatty acids from my body. It's breaking down fat to be used as a source of energy to be burned, okay? The only problem with that is fatty acids cannot be burned in a high intensity state. Okay, so what happens is the intensity is too high, so then our energy systems kick in, our body will start using stored glycogen and carbohydrates as the source of fuel, right? And this is the perfect example that we talk about to people every single day. If you are trying to do fasted sprints, right, I'll have a slide on our description. There is no difference between being fasted and being fed. There is no noticeable difference. I think the difference they did in a couple of studies was averaging about 80 calories, or about 80 calories difference between fasted and fed. Now, if I was doing HIIT training and I was doing it fasted, as long as I had a stored energy source, I'd be okay. But if I didn't, if I was doing keto and trying to do HIIT training, it would not work, right? You just would not be able to get the performance that you want. So there's something I always used to do with our transformation clients, which was everyone always did hill sprints, everyone always did sprints. We always did our sprints, and then we always finished with a long, slow and duration run, or doing some suicides. Because the thing is, even if I got them to break down that fat to be used as a source of fuel, I then need to find a energy system that is going to be able to break it down and convert it. So that's why if I do HIIT training, I'm going to burn through carbs and glycogen. If I do slow, steady state, I'm more likely to oxidize fat as that fuel, but I need to be in that slow state. Now, the difference between the two, slow state is going to take longer to burn a certain amount of calories. HIIT training is obviously going to give us more of an EPOC and an afterburn. So if you can use both, that's obviously going to be more beneficial. If you're looking at somebody who is a physique athlete or somebody who's doing photo shoots, you would want to maybe stick with just slow duration, like, jogging, and not doing any form of HIIT training, because you don't want to burn up those carb stores. You maybe just want to use those fats as fuel. Okay, so it can provide more source of energy for the body. And what they said is if you constantly keep taking MCT oil, or you're taking these exogenous fats, your body will then start to really utilize them as a source of fuel. And the best way to explain that is we all have stored energy, right, in terms of fat and carbs. Yeah?
Yeah.
None of that gets used until you burn through the food that you have in your body. Okay? So if you wake up in the morning and you have some carbs, what do you think that your body's going to do? Oh, hold on till I break down this fat and then it'll digest those carbs. No, it's going to digest the carbs. Now, if you don't put anything in for the rest of the day and it's forced to break down or steal carbs or, do what it's doing, then that's what's going to happen. But I wouldn't put a huge amount of benefit into it, but unless you are a little bit more metabolically flexible. So Paddy, if this is relating to you, if you were to go lower carbohydrate, like we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, keep it higher fat diet for most of your training and then slowly start to bring in carbohydrates, you'd be more efficient at burning fat and burning carbs.
Because there's a lot of the boys that I used to train with would have done, basically had nothing to eat before they went out. Before they went out on the bike in the mornings and maybe doing 60 miles with nothing to eat.
Yeah.
Do you know, so, and I didn't know if it worked or not there.
Well, it wouldn't make a huge amount of difference.
Yeah, but they would need to come back and store up then, basically.
Yeah, so in terms of flexibility, in terms of utilizing fat as a source of fuel, yeah. Would you want to get a decent time and performance with nothing in you or not at your optimal? Of course you would. And then when you put in the food that you need, of course your performance is going to improve. But it's just like saying, if you've always taken 400 grams of carbs a day and you see no noticeable benefit, you need to be doing something with your training or maybe your food to even try and tweak it to see if you can improve your performance. Perfect example, I have a client who's working with us online at the minute who actually is a previous student, and she is a massive runner, big marathon runner, has done multiple marathons, Boston, London, all sorts. And her calorie intake is so low, it's unbelievable. Like, it's fucking pretty much minuscule. And I spoke to her today and I was like, listen, where are you food wise? She's like, probably about like 1,200-1,400. I'm like, and she's still out running like, practice runs, 10, 12 miles, still trains.
What?
Teaches spin classes, like does everything. And I'm like, I remember saying to her in the course, it's like, first thing I would do, you bring your food up. And she was like, no, I'm scared. What's happening? She's like, I'm scared too. And so I spoke to her today. Yeah. And I said to her, listen, here's what's going to happen. You're going to increase your calories. I don't want to. Okay, we're going to increase them on the days that you're doing, your training sessions. And the only reason why I say that is because you can trick someone into doing it, right? Because you go, listen, you need that extra energy to recover. And I was like, you're going to sleep better. Your actual strength is going to get better. Your energy levels are going to improve because you've been in such a deficit for so long.
Why is she scared? Is it like she's scared of like slowing down her running time?
I think it's a mixture of slowing down, putting on weight, and then our running time slowing down. and then the fact that she doesn't want to put on weight. So, and again, a lot of it can be psychological, and you've got some physiological stuff in there where the stomach has shrinked, it's adapted. You might get people who are chronic, caffeine intake, Monster drinks, coffee, everything else, so they've suppressed their appetite and they've adapted to that. So yeah, she doesn't really want to, go on the other side, put on weight, and then start to panic and go, oh my God, I'm getting fat. So you're dealing with that psychologically to get someone to do it. And I actually messaged her. What was it I said to her? She was like, I'm scared. Let's see. Where are we? Where to go? Right, because her weight hasn't changed from we started, and I told her increase her calories. I don't want to increase. What if I told you you would get leaner and stronger, and it would help her food because she's got a bit of an injury? I know, I do feel my body shape has changed slightly, and I know it's my food intake. So sometimes you're just sitting there going, well, if you know this, then why not do something about it? Yeah. And then I just wrote back, why be so stubborn when you have the potential to get stronger, faster, fitter, and leaner? It's believing in myself. And I was like, that's what a coach is there for. A lot of the time people just need to be reassured and they just need to be coaxed along. Now, all I did there was coax her along in terminology that she would understand, which is, do you want to be a faster runner? Yeah. Okay, well, here's what you need to do. You know what I mean? You'll find that with people who are maybe really, really heavy, who lose a load of weight and are rock bottom in calories, and you're trying to say to them, okay, you need to eat more. They'll panic and be like, oh, no, I can't eat anymore. You sort of need to change the perspective of what they're expecting. So usually I'll say to someone, listen, you've lost the weight, you're looking amazing, you look phenomenal. Like, now the focus needs to change on improving your physique and not necessarily losing weight.
That's what happened to me, PJ. I sort of had the fear of my calories once I was at my leanest, and I was always afraid to put that wee bit of a belly back on. But now I don't give a fuck. Like, I just eat like mad. Eat like fuck, train like fuck.
Yeah, it puts you. If you reverse that out of it, it'll put you in a better position. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that a lot of people don't do. They just bring their calories down. I have a client, Stefan, at the minute, who was a really, really heavy kid, has some excess skin. He started at us, he was 90, I think he was 99 kilos. He is now, what is it? 78 kilos? I think he's 78 kilos. And then I obviously had a conversation with him because I said, listen, this isn't always about weight. So we got, you have to address the elephant in the room, the excess skin, what's going on, and just like, okay, listen, the only way that you can improve that is two ways: surgery or fill that skin out, okay, and improve your physique. Start looking at where you can add more size, more muscle to carry your body a lot better. So you start to change that mindset into more of a physique. He was down at about 2,200 calories at that point, and I have him up to 3,200 at 78 kilos. So
at the minute?
Yeah, at the minute.
Lethal.
So there is a way. It's a long-winded process, but it's a process that, if you do it right, you're in a far better position, to that the next time. And I always talk about my partner, and other people. I always tell my clients, I was like, I sound like a beaten drum of me going, increase your calories. And I was like, I'm not doing this to make you fat. I'm doing this because you need to focus on your health as well as, losing weight. And you need to set yourself up for your next diet. A potential client's going to Australia in probably about 8 months now. And was chronically always on low calories, and I've managed to get her up about 300 or 400 calories. What's your weight at? It hasn't changed. How's your energy? Yeah, it's good. I'm sleeping better. I'm stronger. She managed. She couldn't do 2 push-ups. She done 8 push-ups the other day in one of our bodyweight workouts. She was fucking delighted. So yeah, it's sometimes coaxing people and getting them to realize that you need to improve on other things. And for those endurance-based runners, you want to make yourself more metabolically flexible so you can utilize those fats as a sort of fuel. And if we've got a load of fats in the body, our body's going to burn them off quickly before it burns off carbohydrates. But if you have carbs and fats in your diet, then your body's going to utilize the carbs. Okay, and then obviously we come down to energy system, how hard you're pushing yourself and so forth. Okay, so insulin resistance and obesity, this is something that always crops up and always a big cause of what people perceive to be being overweight. Common denominator with obesity is high levels of circulating free fatty acids. Okay, basically what they're saying is there's a lot of, I wouldn't say it's free fatty acids, there's food in the bloodstream which cannot get into cells. Okay, so cells are not being receptive. So if I give you an example, if you think about a bicep, right? If you think that you eat food, you're hoping that your body and insulin will just push that into your bicep. Okay, I'm thinking of all the bodies, but I'm just being relative here, right? You're hoping your body would do that, but your body's like, no, you can't get in. So what happens is that food is still circulating in the bloodstream. It can't just be there all night. So what happens is insulin's like, okay, fuck that. We're going to go towards adipose tissue. I want to store you, as fats. So if you have someone who is insulin resistant, the cell is not taking in food, then what's going to happen is it's going to be circulating around the bloodstream. And a lot of the time, people who are insulin resistant are obese or overweight. So that's the reason why these can be circulating, or these can be high correspondence with each other. So if that's happening, then it's obviously going to be stored as fat cells. As long as you don't burn that, you can burn it off for the rest of the day, but a lot of the time it will be stored. So in the presence of high free fatty acids, okay, so free fatty acids are in the bloodstream, you either release them or you've ate them, your body will favor those use as energy. If we go back to that last slide, we talk about the marathon runner. If he's taking and supplementing with fats, MCT oils, all this stuff, it's in the bloodstream, your body's going to use that as the favorable source, okay, because it's trying to clear the bloodstream, okay. As you are oxidizing more fat, you decrease oxidation of carbohydrates and glucose, okay, so you're not oxidizing those to be burned as fuel or energy, which again might be good as you get to the later stages of a race or so forth, or if you're trying to preserve those things, okay. So the result is chronically elevated levels of blood sugar levels and a condition called hyperglycemia. So hyperglycemia occurs when there's loads of food in the bloodstream, right? Your insulin's job is to go and put that food somewhere. If everywhere is already full, if you look at an obese person, if they're not moving, they're not exercising, every cell in their body is probably full of glycogen, and their liver cells or their liver glycogen is full. It has nowhere to go except fat. Does that make sense? Okay. So if it can't get into cells, it's going to be circulating in the bloodstream, and your body's going to go, shit, what's going on here? It needs to produce even more insulin to then try and get rid of that. So basically what's happening is, you eat food, your body produces on average about 6 units of insulin, depending on the size of the meal. Insulin comes in, tries to clear it. It doesn't clear enough of it. There's still some in the bloodstream. Your body has to produce more insulin to come back and do this. And this is where we can get, cases of our body becoming resistant, okay, cells becoming resistant. So during hyperglycemia, insulin will also be elevated, leading to the conversion of excess blood sugar to other products such as glycoproteins and fatty acids. This can lead to insulin resistance. So the cell is just not really receptive, okay? Now, what causes insulin resistance? So if one constantly overeats, Excessive calories can be stored as fat, which cause fat cells to increase in size. We spoke about it at the start. Everyone is born with a set number of fat cells. We cannot lose fat cells. They either shrink or they grow, and when they grow too big, they split and form a new fat cell. A term called mitosis happens within the body in terms of cell regeneration. We can add to our fat cells, but we can't lose fat cells. The growing fat cell itself becomes resistant, and the resultant prevalence of fatty acids will cause the body to favor the use of fat for energy at the expense of glucose. This becomes a vicious cycle, with the overweight condition leading to insulin resistance, which in turn leads to impaired glucose use. Blood sugar levels rise, insulin levels rise, and cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood pressure rise. So lots of free fatty acids in the bloodstream. Someone's already insulin resistant. They're not moving. They're not burning off stored carbohydrate stores. Then what's going to happen is there's nowhere to put those extra foods or the foods that they have in the bloodstream. So then what's going to happen is your blood sugar levels raise, insulin levels raise, cholesterol, triglycerides, everything comes up. Okay, so there's a knock-on effect from that. A lot of people put a lot of weight behind this, of it being the reason why people are overweight. We know that if you exercise, you're going to, burn a lot of glucose. You're going to burn a lot of carbohydrates. You're going to make your cells more insulin sensitive. So your body is in a better position to take on carbohydrates. So it can utilize those as a source of fuel. So, if you were to exercise, the likelihood of you having insulin resistance, obviously depending on how much you exercise and so forth, is a little bit less. And again, it still comes down to the amount of food that you put into your body on a daily basis. Okay, so this is just a sub issue. It's not a primary issue. The same way that people were saying that insulin is the reason why we're fat. No, overeating is the reason why you're fat. Insulin does its job as a storage hormone. Okay. So vitamins and water soluble vitamins. So I'm going to take a break there, folks. We'll take 15 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll do vitamins, minerals, and hydration and stuff. Okay?
Beautiful.
Karen's still there. Pat's still there.
Hello.
My friend.
Big dude, anyway.
Well, Michaela and Baba.
Congratulations!
Yay, congrats.
Hi, baby.
What's up, Bobby?
Hey, how are you?
2 seconds.
Hi, how are you?
We're having a break for 15 minutes, so it's all right.
Let's see.
Does she recognize me or no?
How many kids have you got, Steve?
3 at the moment. Yeah.
I like that reaction. Michaela.
Well, do you know what? People always ask me why I only have one. They're like, would you not have mom? No. No. One is plenty, especially right now during isolation. Homeschooling one and studying and working full-time from home with my husband working away is plenty.
Homeschooling is not easy.
It's not, is it?
It's actually what we're finding though is that the primary school for wee Eva is doing really well. They're getting weeks of stuff at a time.
Yeah, Jax has been excellent, but there's a lot of work.
But he's going to
Hello, Bobby.
I know he's serenading again.
You what?
I need my charger before I die.
On Steve, bit of Cliff Richard out of you, but
Fuck away.
there's nothing wrong with him.
You offended me.
What's it?
She was a devil woman. He had Wamba.
You're playing that song that drummers love to play over.
You didn't see the concert thing on BBC on Sunday night?
No.
No, they had the Rolling Stones on, and your guy Charlie was supposed to be like everybody else was singing and playing the guitar, and the guy Charlie, I don't know what age he is now, like 70s, 80s, and he was
He's
like,
about that, yeah.
drumming, and he was pretending to have a drum kit, and like everybody else had actual music, and he was like drumming on this box. It was the best TV ever.
Unreal.
Whatever you get lying about the house, you can make a drum kit out of that.
Yeah, I think he might have been still on something.
There's a load of a lot of bands and musicians and all that are doing like quarantine concerts though, and they're Robbie Williams is doing stuff like from bed most days. Fucking outstanding.
Yeah,
Lazy son bitch. There is an app. I can't remember what it's called, but it's split up into 4 screens, I think, and you can like record something on each screen. But the last one plays when you're recording the next one, so therefore you sync them all up. So I tried it once about a year ago, and ended up doing like a 4-part harmony thing with just myself. It was good crack.
Yeah, I think that's what they had on the BBC.
It was, sorry?
I think that's what they had on the BBC. I think that's what all the musicians were doing because they synced it all together.
I must have been the same thing, or
I
was close to an alternative.
So you had 4 versions of yourself in one song?
Yeah, exactly. Like it was just me doing a 4-part harmony. It was funny.
Fuck me, my money is enough. Love you, Kieran.
Fuck you too.
Fuck you, buddy. I'd love to hear your band.
What?
Songs?
I've loads actually.
What are we, 16 years or something?
I'll put a wee link into the group chat. There's only one good one though, Karen.
Here, this is still being recorded. I gotta take this slam out of this recording and send it to the guys and say, "Where do you hear this plays about?"
Actually, to be fair, the last 3 are probably.
Well, shall we Steve?
As soon as he started playing our song, he was being cut off. What does that tell you? Where's Bobby putting on the Rocky Balboa gown? You're Kyle?
I'm bored.
The sun's out.
How's your situation, Kieran, with work and stuff?
Shade. Sure, van broke the freaking big situation today. The van caved in on me the day, so I had to get the recovery out. And then the recovery guy said that he couldn't take me in the van, and I said, "Well, I know that for social distancing," but I said to him, "Well, I can stay in my van," and he said, "No, we still can't do that."
Oh, no way.
So I said, "How the frick am I supposed to get home?" And I was in 5 Mile Town at that stage, and I live in Portdown. That's like a 60-mile journey, you know. So I rang the depot, and then they made a few calls, and they said the only 2 options you have is get a taxi, or if somebody's willing to lift you, then we'll subsidize them for the mileage.
Oh my goodness! But sure, it's still social distancing, like.
Yeah, so I had to get my diabetic dad to come and get me.
Oh, no.
That's mad.
That is mad.
Where where the hell is the employee safety factor running that there? There's not very. But then again, that's just the Royal Mail Group for you. Like, you know, you're a number in that fucking place. Like, you're not took care of whatsoever. Like,
That's crazy.
load of shit. Like, I'm gonna kick up a fuss tomorrow about it.
Steve, see when we're back in the gym, Mrs. Daphne getting on the speaker.
It's fucking something else, like.
That's the songs that should be played during Energy System Day.
Fucking right. By the way,
what one did you send? Oh, MDK.
That's the MDK video.
MDK, but fucking imagine blasting it a minute and a half there, big fucking listen to that.
Fucking right.
That music video was filmed at Steve's house.
No way.
No, he hasn't. He's not watched the whole thing.
About a week ago.
Oh God. Well, it's my kids. It's my kids and my wife in it as well.
I'm only messing. It wasn't a week ago. I'm just kidding.
Social distancing.
That's class. Is it not sore on the old voice, but?
I don't have to do the singing.
Or is it just your other boy?
Well, he does most of it. I do the odd gulder here or there.
Yeah. Have any of you attempted Lenny's mobility challenge?
How many minutes are
later or tomorrow?
I'm still trying to think about what I'm going to do for this video tonight.
It was so hard.
I've never been considered a hero, and I don't intend to be fucking considered a hero.
I'm stuck on it as well, to be honest.
You said that there. Said that, so.
What's the challenge?
You have to tell a hero story, like, you know, a time whenever somebody considered you a hero, or, you know,
inspiration.
I bet you've got like loads of like those.
Don't have a single thing.
Talk about the Joe Wick thing.
I would say I've already talked about it, so, you know, I don't want to go back to it again.
Yeah,
you have to say how much it's made you feel like a hero because he's keeping up to date on your progress. He's such a high-profile character that it's made you feel as if you're up there, like. Some shirt out, by the way. I swear to God, I'll never be beaten.
Fucking unreal, isn't
it? Most I've ever got was Henrik Larsson, like in one of my videos.
Oh, really? Class.
Well, not the one that I talked about him, but.
I used to do these video recipes for a separate page like a couple of years ago, and there's a guy who won Celebrity MasterChef, and
Serious?
he actually liked two of my recipes, two of my recipe videos. It was pretty cool.
That's brilliant. There's bound to be things that you've done for your mum and dad or something.
Well, they sold their house and they're living with me at the moment, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've been able to do that for your parents is a big fucking deal. Like, it's usually the other way around, you know, fucking.
Well, yeah, I suppose
kids end up fucking things up and need the help. You know what I mean? So,
the only difference right now is they will clean their rooms, and they will tidy the dishes, and they will hoover the goddamn floor. And take your shoes off my house. And the simple response was, nah. How you liking the new hairstyle one?
So to be honest, mate,
You like it, eh?
I actually do, but not a lot of people like it. But
I think it looks. I think you suit it, man. You definitely do. Looks good on you. Like.
It's all the one length. That's the only thing. If the back and sides had been shorter.
It's low maintenance as fuck, like, and you can do it in about 10 minutes if you're.
Exactly, man. That's it. Like. You save so much money on gel and wax, like, you know, it's great. Like.
Yeah, I'm not big on gel and wax, like, so.
Oh, not anymore. You're not.
No shampoo now either. Well, I'm always thinking.
all you need is a good scrubbing, but.
Why?
I'll show you.
Have any of you watched that series on Netflix called Kingdom?
No.
No, I have watched the Tiger Kingdom though, which was something else altogether.
I'm afraid to watch that.
Me too.
I'm not even going to.
I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
Carol Baskin.
Everybody has sort of hyped it up. They look like something that I could really do with not seeing after about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It is a non-stop fucking roller coaster of death and gay tigers.
Gay tigers. What's that again?
Rare.
Oh, and see there was a picture the other day with your baseball cap on, and I was thinking, see if you just change that to a flat cap, you'd look like your boy from Peaky Blinders.
What one?
Is it
Murphy?
Murphy, is it? Aye.
That's a compliment, mate. Thank you.
Not slagging at all. Actually, it was like fucking jammy bastard with a fucking genetically perfect jawline. You know.
Halloween 2020, sort of.
Fucking right. Halloween 2020, sort of, and we'll still all be doing fucking house party and Zoom fucking calls.
Trick or treat your own bedroom door.
Fuck.
Did any of us watch that show, The Quiz?
I did, yeah. It was good, like well made, like.
I thought it made it look. They were trying to make it look as if he was innocent, but he's guilty as fuck. Like, have you seen the actual episode?
The actual, oh yeah.
It's mad. He's so guilty.
Like the most the most obvious giveaway, you know.
It was the £1 million question, where he kept searching for the answers, and then he kept saying Google, Google, Google. But every time he said it, your man coughed. And he's like, instead of Google.
Anybody who says I've never heard of Craig David, I think, Craig David.
I know. But he was so adamant that was A1 that sang that.
Yeah.
But sure.
I have no issue with saying that I actually knew the answer to that anyway, because I actually do I did like Craig David years ago. I used to listen to him all the time. But.
You know, Craig David has, I think it's like a PhD or like some kind of like a master's or something like that in music. He's like ridiculously fucking well studied in music.
No, I don't know.
He was on like Radio 2 or whatever. One in the car, and they were talking about it. I was like, "Fuck!" Still fucking in seconds. Like
I heard. It was. I don't know, like a month ago. Like I was in the gym there, and one of my mates, he's from Lurgan, and he's a big extreme metaler, and he listens to cattle decapitation and that, Steve.
Yeah.
And then he told me a weird fact about the band known as Cattle Decapitation are all vegans.
No way.
It's a ironic kind of.
Very much so.
They've a song Crocodile Rot, and the video for it is a girl that's getting treated like they treat animals in the slaughterhouses. They've also won for a song called Forced Gender Reassignment that has a depiction of the Westboro Baptist Church.
See some of the names of these songs, but like just the song alone is enough to make you go, holy fuck.
Come on, death metal's great. But the video for Forced Gender Reassignment is basically they kidnap the Westboro Baptist Church and put forced gender reassignment on them. In graphic detail.
Nobody will ever have a better freaking album title than Cannibal Corpse by the Entrails album.
Yeah.
Holy good fuck! Well, as soon as I heard the name of that album, I just pretty much.
I think that's just the song name, is it not?
No, it's an album. It was like I think it was the second. I think it was the second album. I think.
But there's also Dan Fetus, Kill Your Mother, Rape Your Dog.
That's very true. I went through a listening spree of Fetus years ago, maybe. Just every album and Death as well on the same day.
Never actually bothered listening to Death, but Dan Fetus's last couple of records have been great. There's something called Subjected to a Beating that's just so fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a house coat you're wearing?
Oh, is it a Rocky house coat?
The dressing gown, PJ.
It is. What?
The dressing gown.
Dressing
Stole that
gown.
off Mickey Goldman.
House coat. I don't know what's posture, a house coat or a fucking dressing gown.
Yeah, it's good. If you're a house coat, detail out.
Yeah. Are we all here? Yeah. Let me see.
Suppose I should stop playing guitar now.
House coat definitely is posher.
House coat.
Fucking Jessica.
What about bathrobe? How do we feel about bathrobes?
That's very.
It looks more like a high posh cloak.
He's like fucking Hugh Hefner there, for Christ's sake.
Bobby Hefner.
Bobby Hefner.
But I like that. Bobby Hefner.
Bobby Hefner is the man.
Okay, are we all here? Who have we got?
Bobby Hefner, the porn king of Portadown.
Portadown. Congratulations.
Bobby, what are you wearing?
We've got a new topic. Bobby's garments.
Bobby, see, as long as you're comfortable, lad, that's it.
You just, yeah.
I'm going to join. I'm going to join you, mate.
Hogwarts
stay.
Here comes Hogwarts.
Yep. I've started a trend here.
Yep.
Harry Potter, for fuck's sake.
Yep. We just need a beer now.
Harry Potter.
Now to put his on.
There you go. I'm more of a Slytherin, but she got me. Hogwarts. Right. Orla. Right. So.
Fuck me, it's Gandalf.
It's Assassin's Creed, but close enough.
Ginger Dolph.
Jesus, I shit myself and I thought, fuck me, am I recording this? That'd be great, wasn't it? Review. Okay, so vitamins and minerals. Very important. A lot of the time they will not get sort of, not say recognized, but obviously we have tons of different vitamins and minerals in every different type of food. So they're pretty much a sub-domain. Does not make them not important. They are important. They're usually something that is out of our scope of practice in terms of, you even need to get someone to get have a condition or get some blood tests or deficiency tests to see where they're at. But we'll go through this anyway. So vitamins are substances that help essential body reactions take place. The best strategy to make certain that an adequate amount of all the vitamins consumed is to eat a wide variety of foods, consume plenty of fresh fruit and vegetables daily. Some vitamins are water soluble, where others are fat soluble. So what are the fat soluble ones?
A, D, E, and K.
A, D, E, and K. Okay. Water soluble is just B and C. Okay. And they obviously have limited storage capacity, as it's saying down there. We cannot keep them in the body. We need to get them from our dad on a daily basis. Okay. These vitamins are usually associated with carb foods, such as fresh fruits, bread, cereals, and vegetables. B vitamins are energy metabolism vitamin, are needed for the metabolism of carbs, proteins, and fats, critical to higher energy requirements of athletes. Usually that's where you'll see the chronic fatigue conditions more or less being attributed to, B12 and B6 and B9 and stuff like that there. So, yeah, I'll make sure you get those B vitamins in there as well. Now, here's a list of your water-soluble vitamins, okay? Vitamin C being the very bottom, but the different forms of vitamin B and what they're actually used for. So we have vitamin B1, which is thiamine, needed for the metabolism, crucial for the function of the nervous system. Also aids in metabolism of carbs, maintaining appetite and normal digestion. And the sources where they can be found: nuts, seeds, whole grain, bread, cereals, pork, beans, wheat germ, pork and liver. Vitamin B2, which is riboflavin, necessary for the metabolism again. It's also vital for good vision and healthy skin. also supports the nervous system and the digestive systems. Okay, you can get that from milk, yogurt, leafy green, vegetables, whole grain cereals. Niacin, relevant for the nervous system and digestive system, and also for healthy skin. Get that from tuna, dairy, whole grain, and rich vegetables, cereals, meat, and rich vegetables, and rich bread, vegetables, meat. Protein products as well as peanut butter. Pantothenic acid aids in supporting the body's metabolism. It's common in foodstuffs. I don't know what foodstuffs is, but it must be common food. Biotin or biotin, fraction of an enzyme needed for energy metabolism. Common in foods, also produced bacterially in the intestinal tract. And then B6, part of the enzyme needed for protein metabolism. It also helps in the production of red blood cells, significant function in protein metabolism, and meats, fish, poultry, green vegetables, fruits, shellfish. Folic acid, needed in the making of red blood and new blood cells, instrumental for pregnant women. There you go. As it prevents neural defects. Leafy vegetables, legumes, orange juice, liver, seeds. Vitamin B12, part of the enzyme crucial for new cell synthesis. Also aids in the maintaining of nerve cells. Animal products, eggs, poultry, seafood, milk, dairy, eggs, it cannot be found in plant foods. Wouldn't say it cannot be found. Very, very limited in certain plant foods. And then obviously you've got your vitamin C, important for immune system health, invaluable absorption of iron. So if you do have someone who is anemic, who has a low iron, get them to supplement with vitamin C as well. Essential element in collagen formation. It is an antioxidant, important function in boosting resistance to infections and improving absorption of iron. Abundant most fruits and vegetables, citrus fruits, vegetables from the cabbage family, cantaloupe, strawberries, tomatoes, and so forth. Vitamin C, as good as it is as an antioxidant and immune system support, it's like anything, you need to be taken on a daily basis to build up that. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the times people were like, fuck me, I need to take some vitamin C because COVID-19 is going to get me. Or you have COVID-19, you just start taking vitamin C. It's like, it's not going to do you any damage, but like, you know, you need to build up more strength in your immune system because of it. So it's something that needs to be taken daily. There will be a question, it's more about vitamin B12, about, you know, vegetarians or vegans being a little bit more deficient in it. There will be a question on vitamin A. Okay. So, question on vitamin A. So vitamin A and beta-carotene, needed for maintaining good sight, especially night vision, in maintaining an effective immune system and resistance to infections, vital for healthy skin, boost the growth and repair of body tissues. And the sources where you can get them from: animal products, dairy products, eggs, liver. Beta-carotene is found in plants, leafy vegetables, fruits, apricots, cantaloupe, variety of yellow vegetables, winter squash, sweet potato, pumpkin, carrots. Also yellow and orange fruits such as mangoes and cantaloupe. So vitamin D, part of the vitamins encourage bone making and absorption of calcium. Is also in charge of the absorption of phosphorus and calcium and phosphorus from the bones. Egg yolks, fatty fish, fortified milk, margarine, liver, also made by the skin by sun exposure. Also exist in dairy products, egg yolk, fish liver, oils, tuna and other fish as well, sardines and yeast. Vitamin E, antioxidant, assists in maintaining cell membranes, guards vitamin A and fatty acids from oxidation process. Mostly found in plant oils, leafy greens, wheat germ, whole grain products, liver, egg, yolks, stuff as well. So you'll always see fish oils have vitamin E in them, and it's pretty much just to protect them so they don't go, you know, shitty. Vitamin K for blood clotting and stuff as well. You've got K1 and K2, K2 being the one that we want. Leafy green veg and milk. Okay, so there'll be a question on vitamin A. So they're fat soluble. They obviously need fat within the body to be absorbed. You have water soluble, which is your B vitamins and your C vitamins. Okay, minerals. I think there's a question on minerals. Minerals are inorganic substances that are involved in water balance, nerve pulse stimulation, acid-base balance, and energy reactions. So they're pretty much a catalyst for everything that is that happens or occurs within the body. Iron and zinc are critically important for energy metabolism, but are also among the nutrients of which people may not be consuming enough of. Okay, it's particularly true of vegetarians because the best source of these minerals is usually red meat. Most common nutrient deficiency in most industrialized countries is deficiency in iron. And then obviously we have some RDAs. Now RDAs recommend daily allowance is always based on sedentary individuals. Okay, so calcium, 1 gram per day for men, 1 gram for women. The best source, milk products or milk-based products, strong bones, teeth, muscle tissue, heartbeat, muscle action, nerve function, blood clotting. Chromium, 35 UG. So corn oil, clams, whole grain cereals, brewer's yeast. Glucose metabolism increases the effectiveness of insulin. Has anyone ever taken any GDAs, glucose disposal agents? Anybody diabetic? No?
Lee is, but she's not here.
No. Okay, so chromium, or the more usable form that you see in some supplements, is called chromium picolinate. GDAs became really, really popular there for a while. A lot of the time they are just diabetic drugs like metformin, and all they're doing is just managing your insulin levels so that, again, you get a lower insulin response, which could potentially help you, in terms of losing weight. Copper, oysters, nuts, organ meats, legumes, formation of red blood cells, bone growth and health, works with vitamin C to form elastin. Fluoride, which we get in our water, tea or marine fish, stimulates bone formation, inhibits or even reverses dental cavities. Iodine is something that a lot of people usually deficient in. You need it for your metabolism. Component of the hormone thyroxine, which controls metabolism. Iron, meats, organ meats, legumes. Hemoglobin formation improves bone or blood quality, increases resistance to stress and disease. Magnesium, obviously one of the bigger ones as well. It helps with the acid-alkaline balance in the body. Important in metabolism, carbohydrates, minerals, and sugar. It's involved in like 300 different processes within the body, so very important. Manganese, nuts, whole grains, vegetables, fruits. Enzyme activation, carb and fat production, sex hormone production, skeletal development. Molybdenum, legumes, grain products, nuts, functions as a cofactor for a limited number of enzymes in the body. Phosphorus, fish, meat, poultry, eggs, grains. Bone development, important in protein, fat, and carbohydrate utilization. Potassium, lean meats, vegetables, fruits. Fluid balance, controls activity of the heart muscle, nervous system, and the kidneys. Selenium, which is usually again lacking in the thyroid. Seafood, organ meats, lean meats, and grains. Protective of body tissues against oxidative damage, pollution, radiation, and normal metabolic processing. And then zinc, lean meats, livers, eggs, seafood, whole grains, involved in digestion, metabolism, important in development of reproductive system, and it aids in healing. Okay, so they're your minerals. Ones that we constantly see cropping up all the time is anemia, low magnesium for people maybe getting runner's cramp in the calves, or restlessness, legs. Phosphorus, potassium, magnesium in terms of electrolyte, within our electrolyte balance within our body. Zinc for I don't think it's going blank today. Production of growth hormone, production of testosterone, stuff like that. So fluid and hydration. Water carries nutrients to cells and carries waste products away from cells. It serves as a body lubricant, and through sweat helps maintain body temperature. So that's how important water is within the body. Lean tissue is more than 70% water, and about 60% of our total body weight is water. We lose water through breathing, so breath is moist, excuse me. The skin, this happens even if there is no obvious sweat, urine, sweat and feces. So respiring it out, perspiring it out, going to the bathroom and sweating it out. Okay, so it's incredibly important to consume sufficient fluids to maintain water stores, but we obviously, a lot of us do not drink enough water. May commonly wait until they become extremely thirsty. So we're waiting for that, thirst before anything sort of happens. Key to athletic success is avoidance of a state of underhydration is easier than may seem because many people rely on thirst as an alarm bell. The general consensus is that, a lack of proper hydration contribute to about 10-15% decrease in performance. So it has a big burn. If you think, top levels, you're talking minuscule differences. So it can attribute to, a big massive amount. And then also the fact of, if we look at that, as we were saying there, about getting rid of waste products or getting rid of shit, this is why water is so good for weight loss. Okay, so it's in terms of detoxifying the body and stuff as well. That's its job. So thirst is delayed sensation, does not occur until the person has already lost 1 to 2 fluids or liters of fluid. This is people should learn to, take water in fixed periods. So they don't have to rely on thirst. I know people pretty much set an alarm on their phones to make sure that they have plenty of water. Some people obviously carry around the 2-liter bottles. Others, just go to the water filter machine, or every time they pass it, they have a cup. So there's ways of bringing that up and implementing it. I know Dan John, the strength coach, his thing was always, two glasses of water a day. That's it. That is your basic fundamental, what you start with. And he always talks about how he helped a client lose 2 stone from just doing that. Because he says the client will get through the day and then go, oh, I haven't had no water for today. And you think two glasses of water is pretty easy. There's going to be some questions on this. So staying optimally hydrated and fueled during exercise is multiple benefits. Okay, so it has a less pronounced increase in heart rate. So if you are dehydrated or you've got an infection, your heart rate will naturally go up. So obviously if you're adequately hydrated, you're not sick and so forth, it'll actually help. It helps keep your core body temperature down. Improvement in cardiac stroke volume and cardiac output, because obviously fluid is pushing that around the body, the blood. Improvement in skin blood flow, enabling better sweat rates and improved cooling. Maintenance of better blood volume, and reduction in net muscle glycogen usage, improving endurance. So, it helps with not using as much carbs. It's still going to use carbs, but fluid intake, drink as much as you need to match sweat losses. Do not rely on thirst as a stimulus. Sweat rates are often 1 to 2 liters per hour. It's difficult to consume and absorb enough fluid to match these losses. Consumption of large volumes of fluid increases the risk of GI distress, thereby affecting performance. So, that's why we can't sit there and knack like 4 pints of water. Ingestion of large volumes of dilute, low sodium fluid may increase the risk of hypernatremia. So if anybody's familiar with that, it's pretty much dying from having too much water. Okay, and you're more likely to die from over consuming water than you are of dehydration. I always tell the story of, there's a story here in Belfast of a girl who died after taking ecstasy, and she was freaking out, and so wherever she was, whatever the party she was at, they put her in the shower, and then they just kept feeding her water to cool her down because she was overheating, and they actually end up, the cause of death was hypernatremia, too much water. So, like I say, it's something that's probably happened, a handful of times to people. So I'd just like to say that story anyway. If left on their own, clients will often develop dehydration, even when there's sufficient fluids nearby. To ensure better compliance, fluid should be cooled to taste good and be readily available. So we think back to the branched chain amino acids, and what we were saying was they taste good. That's probably one of the biggest benefits of them. See what I mean? So if you're sitting there and you're training for an hour or 75 or 90 minutes and you need to sip on fluid, it's going to be nicer to sip on a Lucozade or sip on something that tastes nice. And even if you get that placebo of thinking that it's actually doing something as well. So there's clear advantages of sports drinks over water for most exercise in adults. Studies have shown a 6% carb solution in some sports drinks is ideal for gastric emptying and intestinal absorption for reducing mental and physical fatigue. So water provides no flavor or electrolytes. This can cause people to want to drink. Drinks that cause people to want to drink help them stay well hydrated. So making sure that they taste nice obviously makes it easier for us to want to drink them. The sodium provided by some sports drinks helps maintain blood volume, a factor that's critical to maintaining sweat rates and performance. So if we go back to what we're talking about with Lucozade and Powerades, they're manufactured to have electrolytes, have carbohydrates in them, which draws water in the cells. They're just better than water alone. Not to say that like in terms of rehydrating you. Most water, like tap water, will not have any electrolytes. But your normal river rocks, stuff like that, should have some potassium, magnesium, and stuff in them. So it should be pretty much good. So coconut water. Anybody had this before?
Yeah.
Fucking rank.
Great.
Rank.
Not another fucking label.
It is. You just need to get used to the flavor. Trust me. It's like coffee. The first time you have coffee, black.
It's fine if you shove it in like a smoothie if you use it instead of plain water, but just on its own.
No, it's good. Okay, so take a look at the nutrient content on the right-hand side. Why do you think it may be a healthy alternative in terms of hydration when compared to sports drinks?
Because it's only 19 calories.
Sweet, yeah. Less calories.
And no sugar.
It's low in carbs as well.
And there's no sugar.
I put water, really water down.
What else?
No cholesterol.
Low cholesterol.
All the vitamins and minerals on it.
Yeah.
It's high in magnesium.
Again, good electrolytes.
It's basically it's nutrient dense, like vitamin mineral dense, while being low in calories.
Yeah.
So does that make that more beneficial than your sports drink?
Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of what though? In terms of what benefit? Hydrating you or performance or what?
Well, I would say hydration, because if you look at the sports drinks, they're going to provide you with like the electrolytes and your glucose, and whereas that would be more of a hydrating drink.
But I think if we go back to saying about needing to be sort of accessible, sustainable, if it's fucking rotten, you're less likely to go to reach for it if you are dehydrated.
Yeah, that's one of the cons of it, is the price compared to a sports drink. Like, they're fucking excessive. It doesn't hydrate you any better than a sports drink. Okay, a sports drink is manufactured to do that. It has a 6% carb solution in there, which any more you can lead to having this sort of Paula Radcliffe's, as I like to call it. So the sports drink is more beneficial in terms of hydrating you. Why? We know that every gram of carbohydrate is going to bring anywhere between 2.5 to 3 to 4 grams of water for every carb that comes in there. It also already has the optimal amount of electrolytes that you need. Now, this will have electrolytes, but will it be enough of what we actually need? not as much so. But the benefit of it is, again, some people may prefer to have this as a more natural source. Some other people will be like, fuck that, tastes rank or it costs a fortune. There's no real difference with it. So yes, obviously it's given us you know, an amount of vitamins and minerals. It has no carbohydrates or low to no carbohydrates, but because of that, then it's not going to hydrate you as quick. But yeah, it comes down to personal preference. Obviously your normal Lucozade Sports are about 40 grams of carbs or so they can be, you know, 100, 150 calories, probably in around that ballpark. So if you're looking at it, probably more, but if you're looking at it like that and you want to expend your calories on something that, you know, is you're going to feel more rewarding and you want to have that instead, crack on.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, they would rather not drink that many calories because it's like almost like wasted, although they taste great. To me, that's such a waste of calories.
I have a slide somewhere which was the biggest consumption of overeating comes from liquid calories.
Yeah.
You know
People
what I mean?
don't take into consideration other alcohol either.
Yep. And like they just don't take into consideration, you know, their coffees that are fucking primed with sugar or whatever it is. So yeah, it can go out of hand. Even like I'm actually surprised nowadays when I see somebody drink normal Coke.
Yeah.
I think it's just because I'm not used to seeing it, and I seen someone post it on their feed, and I was like, ugh, normal Coke. Like I hadn't had it in so long. When we were in Cuba last year, they have like their own variation of cola, and when I was having rum and Coke, very good by the way.
What was this?
Like the next day, it just felt like, you know, the fur on your teeth. It's like, because I wasn't used to something that was that sort of fucking sweet. I've been on, you know, zero for fucking so long. Okay, so warning signs of dehydration, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. So dehydration with a loss of energy and performance. Drink a carb or electrolyte sports drink. Avoid beverages with carbonation, so like your Cokes or 7-Ups, stuff like that. It can cause, you know, gassiness or GI distress in the stomach. If you're suffering from dehydration with muscle cramps, immediately stop exercising, massage the cramping. Consuming a sports beverage contains sodium, salt, or magnesium to help relieve the cramp. Heat exhaustion with dizziness, lightheadedness, cold, and clammy skin. Immediately replace fluids while in a cool, shaded area until the dizziness passes. Stretching may improve circulation and prevent fainting. Lying with legs elevated will help improve the blood circulation going towards the head, alleviating the dizziness. Heat exhaustion with nausea and headaches. Rest in a cool place till the nausea passes. Drinking fluids to rehydrate is critical. Laying down to help relieve headaches. Heat stroke with high body temperature and dry skin. Immediately out of the heat, seek a medical advice. Feeling chilly with arms tingling, with goosebumps, skin circulating shut down, heat stroke is imminent. Extremely serious condition and must be treated immediately. And then heat stroke with confusion or unconsciousness. Strongly suggests an unconscious confirms heat stroke. This is a medical emergency that calls for fast cooling with ice baths or any other available means. Has anybody ever suffered from any of these?
Yeah, heat stroke.
Heat stroke?
Yeah. It's not nice.
Me too. I thought
I've never been dehydrated though.
Yeah, I thought it was bullshit, but
oh, it's horrible when you've got goosebumps and you're on fire, but you're freezing cold and you're tingling everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what 9 hours in like 35-degree heat with no sunscreen on, coaching kids soccer. Not good.
Oh.
I had some sort of variation of it. I flipping my electrolytes. I was when I was in Thailand. Also, I was drinking like a lot of water, but there was no.
Were you?
With it. So fucking.
Drinking a lot of beer.
What's that?
You were drinking a lot of beer.
Mixed in with the water, man. No, but like see in the morning, like I was maybe going through like 2 liters a session. I was like, "What's wrong with me?" Because my head was pounding. I could barely move, felt sick. And they were like, "Are you drinking your electrolytes?" I was wondering why everybody's drinking like the orange stuff. And I was like, "Nah." How to spend a full day in bed drinking electrolytes mixed with. It's fucking crazy.
There mustn't be any in the water over there, is it? Is the water boiled?
It was bottled water.
Yeah.
I was just drinking bottled water over there. Like,
Yeah,
never really
it may not have any electrolytes in it. So then what you're doing is pretty much just getting water in and it's going out. Especially if you're sweating, especially in a hot country, it becomes super important.
It's crazy. Like, it was fucking, I've never felt like it.
Yeah.
How sick I was.
Not good. Not good.
Cramped up before in games.
What were we saying, bud?
Like we went into extra time. One of our games last year. I've cramped up a few times in games.
Yeah.
It was one game last year. We went into extra time and I played the full 70 and then the full 20 after. And 5 minutes into the second half extra time, I just had to go down. I had to go down and just ladder my legs up.
Yeah.
Someone stretched me out, and someone was over with water and tape and everything, and mad.
Yeah, and by the time it gets in the bloodstream and stuff as well, you're still running about and you feel like someone's just kicked you in the leg. Just to go back to this slide, there is a question on, hydration and what it helps to do within the body. So obviously, less pronounced increase in heart rate, less pronounced increase in core body temperature helps improve cardiac stroke volume and output. The question will be on what are the benefits, or how does hydration affect the body, or positives and stuff. So that's slide 83. So dietary supplements and ergogenic aids. Okay, so supplements, concentrated source of vitamins and minerals, and energy substitutes are taken to supplement what you do not get from your diet, pretty much. Okay, so ergogenic aids are substances that help enhance a person's athletic ability. So there's two differences. One there to fill nutrient deficiencies and make you perform, like your body to perform at its best in terms of like health. Ergogenic aids in terms of improving your performance, and we can see it here in power or endurance. In terms of dietary supplements, ergogenic aids often used are interchangeable, but they're not the same. And dietary supplements can be used to conveniently intervene in a known dietary deficiency, whereas ergogenic aids often taken for the sole purpose of improving performance rather than having an actual deficiency of it. And there's no evidence it is useful or warranted to take high doses of dietary supplements in the absence of a known supplement deficiency. Okay, so ergogenic aids, on the other hand, have typically been tested or not been tested, for either effectiveness or safety. There's little consistent evidence. There's only one or two main ones that actually work. Have been touted as having an ergogenic benefit, actually to do anything to improve performance. Where ergogenic aids do work is usually because they help meet energy or nutritional requirements as a result of period behaviors. I don't agree with that. You can take nootropics, you can take coffee, you can take other stuff which are ergogenic aids. It's clearly healthier and less costlier to eat better foods than to rely on substances with unknown quality or origin, and they're untested. So examples of those. So supplements to improve your strength and power. Amino acids, right? Anabolic steroids, they would, yes. Boron, chromium, creatine, colostrum. Anybody know what colostrum is?
Diddy milk?
Well, yes.
You get a good bit out of the diddy milk?
Pretty much, it was, I don't know if they sell it now, but there used to be a supplement called colostrum, and it was taken, the milk was taken from the mother the first 2 weeks after having a calf, and that was like, oh my god, this is like the best whey protein ever with all the added vitamins and minerals that come with that sort of stuff. So, but it sort of died out a bit. It was pretty pricey. Creatine we know about. HMB, which is a precursor to leucine. Alpha ketoglutarate, Okay, so it's usually AKG that's usually prominent as, and I'm going to say alpha-ketoglucaronate. Pro-hormones over here are banned. In the States, they're not. There is certain pro-hormones. The ones that are banned over here, they're pro-hormones, are precursors to basically production of steroid hormones. The ones in America, they're not banned, so you could be 1 or 2 reactions away from, having more test within your body. The pro hormones over here will be like full of crap, like tribulus test, horny goatweed, maca powder, stuff like that. Protein, yes. Tribulus terrestris, again, no real research to say that actually does improve it. Vanadium and zinc, yes. Supplements promote energy supply. So bicarbonate of soda was always something that endurance based. I still have you on Spotlight, Bobby, don't I? Supplements that promote energy supply: bicarbonate, caffeine, L-carnitine, creatine, guarana. Anybody know what guarana is? No? Anybody know? Has anyone ever taken it?
I've heard I had it in chocolate bars and chocolate biscuits.
Yeah. Anybody ever taken fat burners?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Guarana,
took them once.
yeah. Guarana is one of the main products in there. So it's like a bark extract. It just sort of helps heat your body up, give you a bit of energy. Hornitus, iron, magnesium, puvate, and ribose. Okay. Supplements used to burn fat: caffeine, L-carnitine, and ephedrine. Has anyone ever taken ephedrine? No.
Fuck, I thought you were sleeping there, Kieran.
Brian King, fitness mindset guy, talks about taking L-carnitine as a supplement for weight loss, for fat loss.
Yeah.
But I think he says that it's like if you think of, is it caffeine and green tea I think they bring fat to the furnace. L-carnitine makes the furnace burn hotter, is the way that he puts it in the fitness mindset.
You would then, based off that premise, would believe that, having probably a low carb diet would probably be better. You actually need carbohydrates as your transporter for L-carnitine. So it's known as a fat metabolizer. Okay, or mobilizer, sorry. So mobilizing fat to be used as a source of fuel. So yeah, it does have its benefits. It wouldn't be first on the supplement list for me, but yeah. Ephedrine is pretty much a bit like fucking speed. Like, it's what's mainly in a lot of illegal fat burners and stuff like that. And it just literally just gets you wired to the moon. I remember I ordered it as a kid when I was 18. And I mean, like, if you talk about heart palpitations, like you talk about a pre-workout, this was just like on a different level.
What was it?
Is that the stuff that would have been Jack 3D would have been?
I think there might have been. The thing with Jack 3D was it was full, or wasn't full of, it had traces of amphetamines.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Jack 3D was brilliant. Class. Don't ban it. Yeah, I remember that was another one of the first pre-workouts I took when you were a kid. Yeah. So ephedrine, I remember taking it and then going to walk out the door and then going, shit, I am actually literally going to shit myself here. Running up the stairs, trying to pull my trousers down halfway through. I think I actually ruined a pair of jeans.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, fuck's sake.
And then I mean, like, profuse sweating. I mean, sweating. And after about taking it twice, I was like, no chance. Here's Kieran. So, potential side effects of anabolic steroids. These would be extreme side effects. If you ever watch the Netflix series Bigger, Faster, Stronger, and listen to people who are smart about anabolic steroids. If people know what they're doing, they can be very beneficial depending on where you're, looking to use them. Because steroids are used in medicine on a daily basis. If it's just a meathead just looking to get bigger and not knowing risks what they need to do, then that's when the issues potentially come, especially if you go long term and then you actually start to not be able to have kids or whatever else. So potential side effects, the yellows are what's in the main, so headaches, baldness, development of breast tissue, reduced sperm count, and enlarged prostate, shrinking to the testes. For females, in male and female, acne on face and back, pokes and blood clots, high blood pressure and heart disease, nausea, bloating, impotence, urinary and bowel movements, liver damage, mood swings, achy joints, aggressive behavior, increased risk of tendon injuries. Problems in women, reduced breast size, enlarged clitoris, increase in facial and body hair, deepened voice, and mental problems. So again, I don't agree with everything that's on there. Not that I'm by any means stretch of imagination I'm affluent in this, don't know anything about it, don't take them and promote them, but any of the people I've heard listen to and talk about it, it's a bit like anything. Some people will get acne, some people won't get acne, some people develop issues, some people won't. Pro-hormones, so as we were saying there are one or two chemical reactions away from steroid hormones. DHEA, which is banned over here, but you can get in the States. Androstenediol do not increase muscular size and strength gained from resistance training. So a big thing that people always say is that, these hormones are what get you bigger. Actually, it's not. What actually happens is they increase your recovery. So the quicker you can recover, the quicker you can turn over food, the quicker you can get back in the gym, the quicker you can build more muscle. A lot of the time. So they don't, because there's some studies that say testosterone has no bearing on muscle size or increase, but we know that it has an effect. So androstenedione or androstenediol do not affect body composition in healthy young males. The risk with pro-hormones, some increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. So if you're taking, growth hormone, or you're taking pro-hormones, or even just anabolic steroids, you can quicken up the turnover of cells, cell regeneration, which means people can age quicker. You can affect your cardiovascular system, your bones and your joints and stuff as well. Risk of pancreatic and prostate cancer, behavioral changes. So people getting a wee bit steroid rage. Put you at risk for a positive drug test. Yes. Banned by the International Olympic Committee. And then the NCAA, which is American. Growth hormones. Increases protein synthesis within the muscle, mainly connective tissue, not contractile tissue that's synthesized, acts in an anabolic manner in growing children and adults who lack a normal amount of growth hormone. And growth hormone stimulates lipolysis. So what's lipolysis? Anybody know?
Fat loss?
Yeah, fat burning. Okay, so people will take it to burn fat as well. Most of the time, your big meatheads will take growth hormone because tendons and ligaments take longer to get bigger and get stronger. And what you'll find is if somebody goes on the gear and gets really big really, really quick, the likelihood if they don't start doing this sort of stuff or rehab or doing the proper shit, they can pull a pack, they can pull their bicep, they can tear a lot off. Because physically what happened is they have grown too much muscle tissue, they've grown too big for their actual tendons.
Tendons can't take it?
Yep, and they just can't take the pressure, and bingo, they go.
PJ, tell us this here, does that have to be injected, or can it be taken
I think that can be taken orally. as far as I know.
He's asking for a friend.
Yeah. Yep. Trying to lose weight here. Yeah. This is where, if we look down here at the risks, the carpal tunnel compression, usually what you'll get with growth hormone, there's a reason why our body stops producing growth hormone usually around about our puberty years, is because, again, it turns over cells a lot more. It increases the aging process very high. And also the fact that it helps develop bones. So do you ever see those bodybuilders or female bodybuilders as well that just have these big square jaws, or the bodybuilders, these big massive foreheads? That's usually attributed to growth hormone. You know, the bones actually still actually actively growing because they're taking so much. So chronic use may lead to diabetes, carpal tunnel. So then the compression here gets really difficult. Muscle disease, shortened lifespan, as you're saying, never turning over cells. The banned substance may actually result in decrease of performance. Creatine, not prohibited in most sports. It was at one point, I think in the 90s, it was banned. It was banned by the Olympic Committee because they thought that it was a steroid. That's why occasionally you'll hear people go, I don't want to take it. No, it's a steroid. Still having that debate today. So studies have found a positive effect on strength, power, and body mass. It has been seen to help with repeated short efforts and little recovery time. And gains of body mass can be due to water retention. Most creatine monohydrates are bounded with sodium, so salt. Salt is obviously going to draw water, and that's where some people complain of water retention or bloatedness, or what they call creatine watery muscles. There's a more modern form. There's no real difference, to be honest, but there's a more modern form called CreaPure. CreaPure is still creatine monohydrate, but it's microfiltered, so there is no sodium in it. But like anything, like with the products we spoke about, nutrition wise, you pay for better quality. So you're going to pay more for creatine, where a creatine monohydrate is pretty fucking super cheap. Like everybody should be taking it. It doesn't matter what sport you're in, what you're trying to achieve. It has beneficial effects for your brain. It can help, stop you from losing muscle tissue. It can help you get bigger and stronger. So it's a no-brainer. And again, no long-term or no research to say that it can affect your kidneys and so forth. So the risks, effects of long-term usage unknown. Annual reports of muscle cramps, stomach problems, concerns about effect on kidney function, again disproven. Amino acids: glutamine, branched amino acids, lysine, leucine, arginine, ornithine. Little evidence support benefit to athletes on a normal diet. Conflicting evidence on the effect of lean body mass or muscle function from use. Studies involving humans have been inconsistent. Safety and efficiency has not been established. Caffeine is just fucking too good. It appears to play a role in sparing glycogen by releasing free fatty acids and increasing fat oxidation. Exercise time to exhaustion was increased in a group given caffeine. Under simulated race conditions, performance also improved. No apparent effect on oxygen uptake though, and a use of 3 milligrams or less may be all that is needed to achieve that. I would say that 3 milligrams is far too low. Your average high street coffee, you're talking between 150 milligrams to maybe 300 milligrams per cup. Optimal dose is about 600 milligrams for sport and performance. But if you were getting, a cup of coffee that's only 200 milligrams, you don't know that anyway. But having 3 of them, you're pissing like a racehorse. You probably got the shakes. So it's probably better to supplement with it rather than take it from, coffee. There will be a question on the risks of caffeine. So insomnia, headaches, GI distress, and bleeding. I've never heard of that or seen that. diuresis, so going to the bathroom. Some concern that high intake may put one at risk of bladder cancer. No research to say that's true. Very high doses have caused muscle tremors and impaired coordination in athletes. That is true if you take too much caffeine. You get sheep. What you would do is you would balance that out with an amino acid called L-phenanine, which takes the edge off, takes the shakiness off, but still gives you that focus.
Bobby, that was you on Saturday.
Who?
Bobby.
What was it? You having a
Yeah.
shake or
Oh, yeah. Before the exam, he took that much coffee.
something? I was cramming,
Shit
wasn't
himself.
he? Yeah. Antioxidants, so vitamins A, C, and E, coenzyme Q10, among others. Some evidence have been reported of a protective effect of using antioxidants. Reduced reduction in signs of muscle damage. So, would it be beneficial to take antioxidants before you train or after you train, or both?
Before, because if it may prevent damage, but it doesn't seem to say that it helps repair.
Okay.
4 would be my logic there.
Yeah, before, I would say before for the same reason. If it's going to prevent muscle damage or help prevent.
Okay. Anybody else? Would you take it before, after, or would you even take it at all? When do you take your what do you call it? Your antioxidants.
It's usually you take it in the morning, usually, isn't it? First thing in the morning, you usually take one of them soluble things and take a drink then.
Yeah.
You'd be taking it then anyway. Well, I suppose it would be. Really, it would help muscle damage, alright. Like.
Okay. I'll just go through here. We'll address it here in a second. Reported reduction in signs of muscle damage. No reported evidence are beneficial to performance. They can also function as pro-oxidants. So pro-oxidants actually being causing more oxidation, causing more damage by having too much of them. Athletes who train regularly may have already a natural capacity to get rid of those free radicals. Recent reports have linked vitamin A to vascular problems. That's wrong. So I always tell people that everyone would consider, multivitamin to be healthy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We all usually take it before, first thing in the morning when we get up. The research actually says if you take it before or after training, you can have a negative effect on your body. And the real reason being is when you go to train, what are you going to do?
Put your body under stress.
Stress.
You're there to break your body down, put it under physical stress. And what does that stress invoke?
Hormonal reactions.
Yep. A response from your body. So if you are not actually physically putting that body under stress, or you're not putting it in the best position to create inflammation, then your body then is less likely to turn around and go, okay, well, there's something here I need to, repair or recover from, or to do something. So actually that inflammatory response post-training is what stimulates muscle protein synthesis, all these little different enzymatic functions that cause us to build muscle tissue, to repair our bodies and so forth. So it's always something that I always tell people, we all assume a multivitamin is good for you. If you take 10 of them, you could actually give yourself toxicity poisoning. So I always say there's a devil in the dose. Yeah, you should not have them in and around your cycles.
That's so interesting. You talk about taking it around training.
Why?
My old boss, he ended up in hospital with near kidney failure, and he used to always triple doses vitamin C. So he was taking 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, trying to prevent himself getting sick, plus taking fat burners. But he trained at 5 a.m. and then went home, took his shake, and took the vitamins straight away and the fat burners.
Yeah.
And then end up in hospital and nearly died. And that's so interesting you say that, because too much vitamin C has a negative reaction to your kidneys.
Yeah, it can do. Yeah,
That's mad.
anything. If you have too much, I usually recommend 2.5 grams per day. But
How much?
2.5 grams. But it's like anything. If you have too much of one thing, you're not getting rid of that. Or if you're having too much of a certain vitamin, your body will then just hiss it out anyway. But yeah, like anything, you need to be careful. Was that Mark? Was it?
No. It was my old boss in my old job in the barber shop.
Yeah.
But they couldn't understand in hospital why it had happened. And I reckon that could be like the $1 million, like just like you're saying about doctors not knowing about like nutrition properly and the timing of vitamins and minerals and things like that. Obviously the fat burners were a ridiculous idea too, but yeah, he was in hospital for months.
And a lot of that would be the fact that with that heat, a lot of fat burners are pretty much just heat and compounds. They're making it wet. They're making the caffeine. Obviously, this is oxidants. It's causing more of an oxidative stress, and it's actually turning into more of a pro-oxidant. Yeah, could possibly be the answer.
That's crazy.
That's us, folks. Happy days. Question ways. There's going to be a question on caffeine. Maybe I think there's a question on creatine. Most of the time, you get the supplements right. Both had to take them.
Say that bit again, PJ.
Most people get the supplement questions right because we've all probably fucking taken them or we've all listened to the mainstream media about what they do. That question, which is on hydration, there'll be a question on hydration, fluid and hydration. There'll be a question on vitamin A. I think there's a question saying what is actual minerals? What do they do? Inorganic substance involving water balance, nerve impulse, acid-base balance, and energy restrictions. Nothing on that. Fat supplementation. Trans fats. There's obviously a question on omega-3. Ratio between omega-3s and omega-6. They will ask you a question of give me an example of a monounsaturated, or which one of these is a polyunsaturated. So there'll be 2 questions on there in terms of fats. Yep. We have our question on CCK, satiety hormone released from fats. Obviously, there's a question on fat-soluble vitamins. I'll just run through these, going backwards. Hormones, nothing on that. Skin damage. Obviously, how many calories are in a gram of protein? Transporters. It obviously being a transporter. You can see here. Transports nutrients to the right place. The main questions on protein is going to be the optimal dose for somebody who's a sedentary individual, a dose for an athlete, how many calories are in there, BCAAs. There's a question on branched chain amino acids. So remember what they are: leucine, isoleucine, valine. Essential and non-essential. Know the difference between those.
Sorry, Patty, can you just go a little bit slower?
Sorry. Where were we last there?
Just after protein.
After protein. So source of energy, the one where what are the requirements for a sedentary individual? 0.8 to 1.2 grams, for a athlete 1.2 to 2 grams plus.
Peter, you're going to put this up again anyway, aren't you? This recording?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
record this and put it back up, and then I'll send you through those 2 quizzes to do. They'll be what will put you in the best position to pass it. Sure, amino acids, isoleucine, leucine, and valine. They're branched chain amino acids. And then essential versus non-essential. So essential is what our body needs from our diet. Non-essential is what our body produce. We need both together to stimulate muscle growth. Carb intake. Let me see, any questions on there? I don't think there's a question on recommended carb intake, so you may be good. There's obviously a question on does fat burn in a carbohydrate flame? Let's see. Glycemic index, I think there may be a question on there. It may ask you what is the glycemic index. Measure how different carbohydrate foods affect blood sugar levels. Dietary fibers, starches, simple carbs. There's obviously our question on saccharides. Which one of these is a disaccharide? It'll be like pick from the list. Maltose, lactose, or lactose and sucrose is the ones we want to keep in our head. Obviously a question on how many calories in a gram. Is it protein sparing? And there's actually a question on stored energy. Which are the 2 storage forms? Glycogen and fat, but it'll be rewritten differently. On the quiz, I have a little question there that just is how to work out someone's calories and then work out their macronutrients. So it'll be all on the sheet. So just remember this formula and remember this activity level. It is in your book as well, but so we know. Problems with energy deficits. No. There's a question on energy balance. So obviously energy matching input, matching output, your weight will stay the same. Energy in a surplus, you'll put on weight. Energy in a deficit, you should lose weight. But it will be rewritten. But as long as you remember that as it is. Sports nutrition. There's obviously a scope of practice. 3 compounds of TDEE: rest and metabolic rate, thermic effect of food, and exercise. I think there's a question on that. Will ask you which of these 3 components, or what of these are 4 components of total daily exercise. Yeah, I think there's a question that maybe asked you what's the best macronutrient, and it's just pretty much they're all. Not think of any one as the food or the be all and end all. Scope of practice. You know, who can give out nutritional advice, or what sort of nutritional advice can a personal trainer give? Definition of nutrition. Some processes by which an animal or plant takes in and uses food substances for growth and repair of tissues. Any questions, folks? Anything you just want to know?
PJ, what way is the test going to be? Is it going to be the same thing
Yep.
on Saturday as it was last Saturday? Yes.
Yeah, 40 questions, 28 out of 40. Like I said, a couple of tricky questions there are mainly fats, vitamins, and minerals. The reason why I say tricky is probably because a lot of people don't look into them. They know about protein. They know about, well, to a degree, carbohydrates. They know about supplements. So it's just nailing down some of those trickier questions. But yeah, it'll be the same format as far as I'm aware.
Are you taking that, PJ?
I don't think so. Lenny will probably take it.
Okay, cool.
I actually have check-ins, nutrition check-ins with clients on Saturday. Any other questions? Anybody unsure of anything or?
All good. Just need to revise.
That's it, Steve. You're right.
Like honestly, if you all past MP first time, you'll breeze by nutrition. And next week we'll go through fat loss. We'll go through a little fat loss seminar. But I'll also get you to do your nutrition presentations. So if you want to do that, on a fucking PowerPoint, you can do that. If you just want to go through it, you can do that. Just tell us about it, and I'll just ask you a couple of questions about things as well. So I'll know if you've bluffed it. Again, it's a 5 or 10 minute Google search. Get a couple of different bits of information. Even go to PubMed, pull something down, have a look at some of the meta-analysis, and yeah, we'll go through that, and we'll go through fat loss sort of stuff.
That's next Tuesday, PJ, yeah?
Yeah.
PJ, what happens if any of us fail Saturday here? Do we do another? Is there another nutrition thing?
No, there actually isn't. So it's the same.
So it's just the one.
Yeah. So my advice would be just pass it first time and don't waste our fucking time.
Don't waste our time here.
Yeah. It's the same exam where MP has MP1, MP2, but no, it is the same exam. So if you fail it first time, you will resit the actual same exam.
Is it the same sort of pass rate, like 28 out of 40?
Yeah, 70%, 28 out of 40.
Cool.
Like I'd say there's a few tricky questions in there. If you go through everything that we've done here now, like this is probably amazing, because a lot of people would just teach face to face, and we don't have this resource where we've recorded it. So you guys have the benefit of, if you go through it and I go, this is going to be on the exam, even if you just used this last 20 minutes, that's going to be on the exam. Remember that. That's going to be on the exam. Remember that. So I think you'll praise it.
And I think
Thank you so much.
Cheers, PJ.
Yeah.
Even whenever you think about sort of like MP against nutrition, you don't often think about why a bone or moves in the way it does. Just like, well, I need to do this to get this result. Whereas I think most certain
pros there, bud. Oh, he's froze. Is that just?
Yeah, he's still frozen, isn't he?
That's his fucking internet again.
Course of ours.
No, Steve does that all the time. He just stops mid sentence. It's annoying me.
Strike a pose.
Yeah. You ever hear about?
I actually thought you froze her.
Very good, Kieran.
Oh no way!
Steve, what are you saying there?
I know. I was just saying. It's
How you
like
got her pregnant? Yes.
That's what comes from a drama degree, basically. Fucking acting degree here.
well, I was just saying. It's like MPs like fucking going back to school doing your biology. You don't really think about that for fucking God knows how long. I can hear all usings, by the way, the whole fucking thing. But like, I think
that's part of it.
Nutrition is something that more people are interested in, and that's why the fat loss stuff is quite good. You know, actually understanding it in a little bit better detail, a little bit less scientific as well. Still relevant sort of stuff there that you know is you know the research is backing it, but to make it understandable and then go, okay, here's what I need to do with this client. I need to do what they're doing, boom, 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 boom. And here's the possible, you know, issues with it as well.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah, you'll probably more off Tuesday than you will of this stuff that you can use with people, but obviously we need to have that foundation of knowing exactly what is actually happening when you put food in the body. I loved someone asked Martin McDonald the other day about like, you know, what are the best free foods on Weight Watchers to help lose weight, and he just did a post back. He's like, there's nothing free in life except water. I just love his just fucking brashness and how he just directed it.
So true, though.
There's a PTA I used to follow a guy called Richie Howe. He's over, I think he's over in England somewhere. He basically just pretty much went viral from his fucking hatred of Weight Watchers, world and all that shit. He was just like, he's like, I don't care if they say it's free. If you eat that many carbs, you're going to be a fat bastard. He's like, holy shit, right? Fuck, people are going nuts. He was like, I think he was offering ones that were on Slimming World free personal training. Just get them on board, get them losing weight, and go like, right, cool. Well, then now you can come and fucking work with me and do whatever.
The amount of people I hear say, Slim World's brilliant. It's the only thing that works. It's the only way I can lose weight. When I'm on Slim World, lose it all. Once I'm off it, I put it all back on. Like, it's because they make it so that you don't understand food.
Apparently, they've changed it in the last couple of years, so it's less.
Yeah. So a mullet like yogurt used to be free.
Yeah.
Now it's not, but nothing in the mullet like yogurt changed.
No.
Well, apparently they've put more work and research into the way that they do it now, but people still do legacy Slimming World and wonder why they're not.
Of course, it's because you're addicted to it because you don't understand food anymore.
Yeah.
If something is free and a sin,
if we talk about adherence and you have a nutrition protocol or nutrition theory that says you can eat as much of this as you want as long as you do this, compared to someone going keto or paleo, it sounds better. The adherence rate on Slimming World is 1,000,000 times higher than anywhere else. And what you usually find is the first port of success with any client is actually getting them to be aware of what they're doing. Because like people go to me, well, you know, like if you hate Slimming World and Weight Watchers, like how does it work? And it's like, you had no fucking structure before, and now you have some form of structure. Now you know that there's a guideline or there's a process that you need to follow instead of you just eating the fucking pick a mix and takeaways until the cows come home. You know what I mean? You know, it does work for a good target populace. There is massive pros and cons with it. They have updated their research to be more towards a calorie model these days, but yeah, there's still some things that are fucking mental. And in terms of the guy that you followed, to get success in, you know, on social media, you have to be really like, you have to have a lot of polarity. Like, you gotta piss people off. You know what I mean? That's what's going to get you traction. I did a video the other day. On Sunday, I did a video of myself, Orla, and the dog out walking. And I wrote on the video, 5th walk of the day. Right? Obviously, it wasn't the 5th walk of the day, but the amount of people who messaged me, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be staying home, staying safe, like, you know, just being completely negative. And the whole point was, I'd listened to this entrepreneur. I don't know if any of you know Grant Cardone. Literally, the fucking dude is just insane. One of his stories is he wrote off 50 million in tax by Bennett Jet. But like the dude is insane money. So what he did is he put out a fake news story that he went bankrupt. Right, and people were going, "What the fuck?" Because people had invested billions in his, you know, what do you call it, house like ban and apartment ban and all this sort of fucking thing.
Real estate.
Yeah, real estate. I couldn't get that out there. I was going to say retail, real estate, and then he got interviewed by a couple of the big names that had huge media followings, and he says, "Nah, it's all bullshit." He says, "It is really difficult to make noise in a world that is just infatuated with COVID-19 and like negative press." He said, and then what he did say was bad news travels faster. I mean, it travels faster than good news. So when people thought he was bankrupt, there's people at the door going, "I told you so, I hated him from the start." Other people going, "Is this serious?" Other people going, "What the fuck?" So I tried that as an experiment, and the amount of people who messaged me and were like, "I can't believe you're like flaunting the rules and you're going out and doing all this." It's like,
So bad press is still press. Is that what you're getting at?
bad press is all press, and you look at somebody like, you know, James Smith, even our own Paul Murray. He gets a lot of traction on social media. It's because
My hero.
What?
That's my hero, boy.
I know, he gets a lot of traction because he talks about. He's like Victor Meldrew. He's like you know, he talks what pisses him off, and if you play the middle of the board and please everybody, you're not going to please anybody, essentially.
And he's a fucking gent too when you actually get to know the man. It's just people do, as you say, PJ, he gets fucking bad press when he talks out, but he's an absolute true gent when you get to know him.
And there's people there who are like, yes, fucking million.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
Like whether he really
rescued a cat today, by the way.
What?
What's on your knee?
We rescued a cat today, by the way, folks.
Oh, cool.
A possibly pregnant kitten.
There's more pregnant people in that house.
Fucking hell.
I don't even. But 2 pregnant dogs, 2 pregnant horses.
Oh, Jesus.
And a pregnant boss.
A pregnant cat and a pregnant boss.
Yeah, so there's something for you when you're doing your video challenge. I don't know if Lenny will make us do it, but try and piss somebody off or piss a block of people off. Really like get off the fence and say with something, because it'll create more hysteria and more sort of following. So if you want to turn around and say the only way to fucking lose weight is, you know, to be keto, and that's the only way, then you'll get all the fucking keto people be like, yes! Then you get all the people going, you're a fucking dick! But I'll post in, what do you call it, a revision list. I'll post in those 2 quizzes. The quizzes are just, they're not, oh, fuck me, I can't even get that out. They're not multiple choice. If you want, I can give you the mock paper as well.
Just send it all.
Yeah.
Send it all.
Whatever you got, mate, we'll take it.
Aye. The test and all. You just want to send it in, just send it in.
Caffeine intake and what house coat you'll have on next. Steve, I love your house coat.
Assassin's Creed. Gonna jump out the window.
Cool. Guys, I'm going to
Especially
have to
fail
jump
the fucking
off.
test.
You shall not pass.
Okay.
I'll see you on Saturday. Thank you so much.
Good luck, folks.
Cheers, no worries.
Bye,
guys.
See you later.
Be prepared, trust me.
Thank you. See you later.
Thanks very
See you
much.
later.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cheers.